At 6:12 on a Thursday morning, I turned onto Birch Street with my duffel bag in the back seat and 90 minutes to spare before the moving van arrived. Mom's porch light was on. So was the kitchen light, the one above the sink that made everyone look mildly ill. 3 dining chairs stood backward against the front window, each tagged with green tape. A stack of boxes blocked half the hallway. Dana opened the door before I reached it. She was holding a roll of red tape. I was still in uniform. For one strange second, neither of us spoke. She looked at my boots, then at my face, as if one of them had to be counterfeit. "You're not supposed to be here," she said. Behind her, Mom sat at the kitchen table wearing her good navy slacks and coral lipstick. She had dressed for her own removal. Her little brown terrier scratched at the laundry room door. Mom looked at me, then down at her hands. That was the moment I understood something worse than my sister, moving our mother while I was deployed. Somehow, Dana had convinced Mom that I wanted it too. 19 days earlier, I had been standing outside a windowless supply building in Kuwait, trying to make a video call without showing my mother a row of portable toilets. The afternoon sun had turned every metal surface into a weapon. I had found 8 square inches of shade beside a concrete barrier, but every time I shifted, the sun found another part of my neck. Mom answered on the 4th ring with the camera pointed at the ceiling. "Mom, I'm here. I can see the smoke detector. Well, it's good to know it works. Lower the phone." Her forehead appeared, then one eyebrow, then the whole familiar living room tilted sideways. I saw the flowered couch, Dad's empty recliner, and Walter standing on Mom's stomach like he was claiming a hill. "There," she said. "Happy?" "You're horizontal. I'm resting. People do it." Mom was 71 and considered any question about her health an accusation. If she coughed, she blamed dry air. If she limped, she claimed one shoe had become political. I smiled because she watched for worry the way a customs officer watched for contraband. "How's the hip?" "What hip?" "The one you landed on." "I didn't land." I sat down unexpectedly. On the back steps, they were available. A forklift beeped behind me. I moved closer to the wall. 5 days earlier, Mom had slipped carrying a bag of birdseed from the garage. She'd hit her shoulder on the railing and bruised the left side of her body badly enough that Dana had taken her to the emergency room. Nothing was broken. I knew because Dana had sent me a photograph of the discharge summary with one sentence underneath. Since I'm apparently the only person who needs actual information, I had called her immediately. She hadn't answered. "How's the physical therapist?" I asked Mom. "Too cheerful. That's not a medical complaint. She says awesome every time I lift my legs 6 inches. It cheapens the word." Walter climbed higher and licked her chin. Mom pushed him away without conviction. "Where's Dana?" "She went home. She's staying nights?" "Some." "Mom, what?" "She has a husband. I'm told husbands require periodic visual confirmation." That sounded like Mom, but her voice was thinner than usual. In the background, I heard a cabinet shut. "Is somebody there?" "No." Another cabinet closed. "Mom, turn the phone. You'll get dizzy." "Turn it." The room swung. For one blurry instant, I saw my sister at the kitchen counter, stuffing groceries into the refrigerator with the efficient violence of someone losing an argument to produce. Dana looked toward the phone. "Oh, good," she said. "Command is calling. Hi to you, too. I wasn't aware we were doing a briefing." Mom sighed. "If you two are going to hiss, I'm putting the television back on." Dana wiped her hands on her jeans and came closer. At 41, she still wore her blonde hair in the same loose knot she'd used in college, except now a pencil was usually stabbed through it. That afternoon, it was a black pen. Her cheeks looked hollow, and there was a faint gray smear beneath one eye. "Did you get my message?" I asked. "I got 3 messages." "Then why didn't you call?" "Because I was here, doing the things your messages suggested." I lowered my voice. "I asked what happened, and I sent you the paperwork. You sent 1 page. There were 2 pages. The other one said, 'Take Tylenol.'" Mom angled the phone toward herself. I took it. "Thank you, Mom. Dana and I said together. Mom smiled despite herself. For half a second, the three of us were back at the dinner table, ganging up on her over some harmless habit. Then Dana said, "She can't be alone on those stairs." "I don't use them now," Mom said. "You went down them this morning. I needed my blue sweater." "You have 9 other sweaters. None of them are blue." I asked, "Why was it downstairs?" "The dryer is downstairs," Dana said, along with the furnace, the breaker panel, the freezer, and every canned good she's purchased since 1998. "They were on sale," Mom said. I looked past them at the paneled wall behind Dad's chair. He had installed that paneling himself and refused to admit it was crooked for 36 years. From 6,000 miles away, the living room looked exactly as it had when I left, which was part of its trick. Houses could remain visually loyal while becoming dangerous, inch by inch. "I can have a second railing installed," I said. Dana laughed once. "What?" "Nothing." "No, go ahead. A railing." "Great. Maybe send us one by drone." "I can call Rick Alvarez. He did the bathroom grab bars 4 years ago during the 9 days you were home." I paid him, Dana, and I let him in, and moved the cabinet, and waited while he went back to the hardware store twice, and cleaned plaster dust out of Mom's toothbrush cup. Mom said, "It wasn't plaster, it was drywall." "Thank you for your service," Dana told her. I closed my eyes. There were trucks moving beyond the barrier, diesel engines grinding through the heat. I had spent the morning reconciling a shipment that existed in 3 databases and apparently nowhere on Earth. That problem felt tender and reasonable compared with my family. "I'm not saying you haven't done a lot," I said. "You say it in checks. What does that mean?" "It means you pay for something and then think the thing is handled. I think it's handled because you tell me it is." "Because what am I supposed to say? Leave your deployment? Fly home and sit in the ER for 6 hours so she can refuse the applesauce?" Mom said, "It was cinnamon." Dana stared at her. "I don't care for cinnamon in fruit." I pressed my thumb against the edge of my phone until the case dug into my skin. Dana had always been good at making facts sound like character defects. I had always been good at making emotion wait outside until it learned some manners. "What are you asking me for?" I said. Her face changed. Not much, just enough that I knew I had used the wrong voice, the clean, controlled one I used when a meeting had gone in circles too long. "I'm not asking you for anything, Major." "Don't. You asked." I asked what you need. "No, you asked for the actionable item." Mom sat up, dislodging Walter. "Dana." "I need to get home," Dana said. "Eric's making dinner." "Eric microwaves soup," Mom said. "Then I would like to witness the miracle." She took her purse from the counter. I wanted to stop her, but every sentence I considered sounded like another instruction. Finally, I said, "Can you call me tomorrow? I have work." "So do I." The instant it left my mouth, I wanted it back. Dana gave me a tired little smile. "Yes, Lena, I'm familiar with your work." Then she bent and kissed Mom's hair. That was the contradiction of Dana. She could make a kiss look both loving and furious. She could resent being needed while checking the expiration date on every yogurt in the refrigerator. After she left, Mom picked at a loose thread on the couch cushion. "She's worn out," I said. "She likes being dramatic." "So do you. I have range." "Mom, how many nights has she stayed there?" 2, maybe 3. "Which is it?" "You're asking the wrong question. What's the right one?" She glanced toward the front window where Dana's taillights had already disappeared. "How many nights did she sleep?" I didn't answer. Mom stroked Walter between the ears. His eyes closed at once. That dog trusted a hand faster than anyone in our family did. "Eric called me," Mom said. "When?" "Yesterday. He wanted to know if I would consider having someone come in mornings. That sounds reasonable. I don't need a stranger watching me butter toast. They might help with more than toast. I can bathe myself." "I didn't say you couldn't. You thought it in a tone." I laughed, but Mom didn't. She was watching something just below the camera, possibly her own hand. What aren't you telling me? I asked. Oh, for heaven's sake, you fell hard enough to go to the ER. Dana's sleeping there. Eric's calling you. What aren't you telling me? She adjusted the phone. I got a little dizzy. When? A few times. How many? Not enough to start numbering. Did you tell the doctor? They asked if I was dizzy at the hospital. I wasn't dizzy at the hospital. Did you tell Dana? Mom gave me a look. Mom, she has enough on her plate. That was the phrase people in my family used right before placing something heavy on another person's plate without warning. I checked the time. I was already due back inside. Through the building's open door, Staff Sergeant Kim lifted one hand and pointed at his watch. I need you to call the doctor tomorrow, I said. I have physical therapy. Tell the therapist too, she'll say, awesome. I'm serious. So am I. The woman is exhausting. I'll call Dana. Don't stir her up. I'm not stirring anything. You were born stirring. You came out looking inconvenienced. I smiled because she wanted me to. I love you. I know. Say it back. I'm in a combat zone. You are beside a portable toilet. I looked over my shoulder. How can you tell? The blue roof is reflected in your sunglasses. I've trained you too well. You've trained me to identify unpleasant backgrounds. Then her face softened. I love you too, Len. When the call ended, my reflection stared back from the black screen. Dust had settled in the lines around my eyes. I looked older than 44 and younger than I felt. Inside, an air conditioner rattled like loose ammunition. Kim slid a clipboard toward me and said, "Everything okay, ma'am?" "Fine." He waited. I signed the inventory correction. My mother fell. "I'm sorry. She's okay." He nodded in the careful way people do when you've answered a different question. That night, Dana didn't return my call. The next day, she texted that Mom's doctor had adjusted one medication and ordered blood work. I asked if she wanted me to arrange morning help. Her reply came 4 hours later, already handled. I read those 2 words until they stopped looking like English. Over the following week, our calls became almost normal. Mom complained about physical therapy, Walter's digestion, and a neighbor who had switched to an aggressive mulch. Dana appeared in the background less often. When I asked about help in the house, Mom said a woman named Patrice had come twice and folded towels incorrectly. I let myself believe we had moved from emergency to inconvenience. Then, 11 days before my scheduled flight home, Mom answered my video call from the dining room. The table was covered with newspaper, half-empty coffee cups, and little squares of colored tape. Behind her, one of Dad's chairs had a green strip wrapped around its back. Another had yellow. A red label was stuck to the cabinet where Mom kept the wedding china she had not used since his funeral. "What are those?" I asked. Mom's eyes moved away from the screen. Dana stepped into view holding a marker. For once, she didn't look tired. She looked prepared. "What are those?" I asked again. Dana capped the marker with her teeth. "Labels? I recognize tape." "Good. The deployment hasn't affected your color vision." Mom turned the phone slightly, but not enough to remove Dana from the frame. "Green is what I'm taking." "Taking where?" No one answered. The air conditioner above my bunk pushed cold air onto the top of my head. I'd called from my room because the internet connection was better after dinner. My roommate was working an overnight shift, and the privacy had felt like a luxury 30 seconds earlier. "Where are you taking the chairs, Mom?" Dana pulled the cap from her mouth. "Green goes to the apartment. Yellow goes to storage. Red is donation." "What apartment?" "The one at Hawthorne Grove." I knew the name. Everybody in our county knew it. Hawthorne Grove advertised during the evening news with footage of silver-haired people playing cards in rooms no resident had ever spilled anything in. Dad used to point at the television and say, "If I start smiling at salad like that, unplug me." I stared at Mom. "You're moving to Hawthorne Grove?" "I'm looking at it." "She toured it," Dana said. "She liked it. I liked the library. And the apartment. It had a view of a dumpster. It had a view of the courtyard if you stood somewhere other than directly against the glass. That is where the window was." I leaned closer to the screen, as though distance were the only thing keeping the conversation from making sense. "When did you tour it?" "Tuesday," Mom said. You told me Tuesday you went to physical therapy. I did. And then we toured Hawthorne, Dana said. People are allowed 2 activities in one day. Why didn't either of you tell me? Dana's expression barely moved. We're telling you now. No, I saw tape. Well, now we're explaining the tape. Mom picked at the corner of a newspaper. On it, I could make out a photograph of a local car dealership owner holding an oversized pair of scissors. I said, "Do you want to move?" "She can't stay there alone," Dana said. I asked Mom, and I'm answering the question everyone keeps dressing up as a matter of preference. Dana, what? The stairs are unsafe. The bathroom's too narrow for a walker if she ever needs one. The driveway turns into a skating rink every winter. She forgot a pan on the stove last month. Mom looked up sharply. It was on low. You scorched it black. It cleaned. You threw it away. It was an old pan, I said. Why am I just hearing about that? Because she made me promise not to tell you. Mom folded her arms. You promised. Yes, and then you fell down the steps. I slipped. Gravity doesn't care what verb you prefer. There was a knock on my door. I muted myself and opened it 2 inches. Kim stood outside with a folder tucked under one arm. Sorry, ma'am. Colonel wants the revised numbers before the morning brief. I'll bring them in 20. He looked past me at the frozen expression on my phone. 30's fine. 20. When I closed the door, Dana was talking. I unmuted. Say that again. I said there's an opening now, she told me. A 1-bedroom. If we wait, she could be on the list for months. Then wait. That's your solution? My solution is we don't move her into a place she doesn't want because an apartment happens to be empty. Mom said, it's a trial. Dana's eyes flicked toward her. What kind of trial? I asked. 30 days, Mom said. If I hate it, I come home. Is that in writing? Dana let the marker drop onto the table. Of course that's what you ask. It seems relevant. You want a PDF? Would that make this real enough to deserve your attention? It already has my attention. From Kuwait. The word landed harder because she didn't raise her voice. Mom put one palm flat on the table. Stop it. I made myself breathe before I spoke. In through my nose, out slowly. I had taught that trick to young officers who thought composure meant having no feelings. It didn't work as well when your sister knew exactly where the feelings lived. When is this supposed to happen? I asked. Dana took a sip from one of the coffee cups. Next Thursday. I turned toward the calendar taped inside my wall locker, though I didn't need to check. I don't fly until Tuesday. I'm aware. That's 5 days. Yes. You scheduled her move 5 days before I get home. I scheduled it when Eric could take off work and the moving company had an opening. I told you my date. You've told us dates before. My jaw tightened. What is that supposed to mean? It means your flights change. Your orders change. Your leave changes. There's always a good reason, but the result is still us waiting to see if you walk through a door. I have never asked you to plan Mom's care around a flight that wasn't confirmed. Dana laughed, but there was no humor in it. You want us to postpone this so you can arrive, take over, and turn it into Desert Storm with bubble wrap. Mom said, that one had better television coverage. Neither of us acknowledged her. You chose the 1 week I couldn't be there. I chose a day. Not everything is about excluding you. Then change it. No. The speed of her answer quieted the room. Mom's face looked smaller between us on the screen. Walter wandered beneath the table and nudged one of the cups with his nose. I said, Mom, is Walter allowed there? Mom looked at Dana. That look told me before either of them spoke. Dana said, there are options. What options? Hawthorne doesn't allow dogs in independent living unless they meet certain requirements. He weighs 14 pounds. He barks. He alerts us to threats, Mom said, mostly delivery trucks and wind. What happens to him? We haven't decided. You label Dad's China before deciding what happens to her dog? It's not Dad's China, Dana snapped. It's a cabinet full of plates no one touches. Mom touches Walter. Mom bent and lifted him into her lap. He settled against her, pleased to have won something he didn't understand. I could take him, Dana said. "You live in a condo with a one-pet limit. Walter and Trixie can adjust." Trixie tried to eat his ear at Christmas. Trixie is a terrier. So is Walter. Then they speak the same language. Mom murmured, "Apparently, it's war." I rubbed both hands over my face. My skin felt gritty, though I had showered an hour earlier. "Don't pack anything else," I said. Dana stared at me. "Please, give me a day. Let me talk to the doctor and Hawthorne and Mom. You don't get to halt everything because you finally noticed the tape. I noticed because you hid it. We did not hide it. What do you call scheduling a move and not telling me? Getting something done?" Mom's hand stopped on Walter's back. Dana saw it and softened by a degree. "This isn't permanent," she said. "She tries the apartment. We see if she feels safer. She gets meals, activities, somebody nearby if she falls. If she hates it, we reevaluate." "Then why are you donating furniture? The apartment is 600 square feet. Why not leave it here for 30 days? Because an empty house full of furniture is still a house that needs insurance, heat, maintenance, and someone checking on it. Those are solvable problems. They're solvable by you because you solve them with a credit card. And you solve them with Mom's things?" Dana's face flushed. Mom said my name quietly. I should have stopped. I knew it even then, but anger had given me that dangerous sensation of precision, the belief that because each sentence was technically accurate, I was entitled to keep firing. "I can pay for someone to stay with her until I'm home," I said. "I can get the second railing installed. We can move the freezer upstairs, set up medication reminders, have meals delivered, and who meets the installer? I'll arrange it. Who notices she didn't answer the meal delivery person? We can get a camera doorbell. Who checks the camera? I will, from Kuwait, for 11 more days. And after that, I'll be home. For how long, Lena?" I didn't answer quickly enough. Dana nodded as if I had. My deployment orders ended, but my civilian job was in Louisville, nearly 2 hours away. Before I left, my company had discussed moving me into a regional operations role. The interview was scheduled for the week after demobilization. I had imagined driving to Mom's on weekends, handling the larger repairs, maybe hiring help. I had not imagined becoming the person who listened for her shower through a closed door. "I'm not disappearing," I said. "No, you visit intensely." Mom flinched. Dana saw that too. "That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant." "Fine. Maybe it is. You come home and replace the smoke alarms, clean the gutters, fill the freezer, and make a list for the rest of us. Then everybody tells me how lucky Mom is to have you. I have never asked anybody to say that. You don't have to." Mom pushed Walter off her lap and stood too quickly. The image shook as her hips struck the table. "Mom, I'm getting water. Sit down if you're dizzy." "I am not dizzy." She reached for the phone. "I'm tired of being discussed like a flooded basement." Her finger came toward the screen. The call ended. I called back immediately. No answer. I called Dana. She declined it. A message appeared. "Give her a minute." I walked the length of the room, which took 4 steps. My locker, my bunk, a metal desk. 4 steps back. Outside, someone laughed in the corridor. A television played through the wall, the sound of an American crowd cheering for something I couldn't see. 5 minutes later, Dana called. I answered before the first ring finished. "Is she okay?" "She's in the bathroom." "Is she sick?" "She's upset." "Put her on." "No." "Dana." "No, Lena. You don't get to keep pushing until she gives you the answer you want. What answer do you want her to give? That she doesn't want to die at the bottom of those stairs because the house is full of memories." I sat on the edge of my bunk. Did she say that? Dana was quiet. Did Mom say she wants to move? She said she'd try it. That isn't the same thing. It's more than you've gotten. I heard a door open on her end. Dana lowered her voice. "I have to go. Don't cut me out of this. I've been standing inside it alone for years." The line went dead. I finished the revised numbers. I attended the morning brief. I answered questions about delayed vehicles and missing components, while part of my mind stayed in that dining room, counting green, yellow, and red. Mom did not answer either of my calls the next day. That evening, A voicemail appeared while I was in the secure office, where phones weren't allowed. I listened to it outside beneath a sky bleached almost white by heat. Mom's voice was soft and strangely formal. "Lena, honey, don't be angry with Dana. She's trying to help, and I suppose it's time I stopped being a burden. Your father knew when it was time. I should know, too. We'll talk when you get home." There was a pause. Then, farther from the phone, Dana said, "Mom, I didn't tell you to say that." The message ended. I played the message 3 times. The first time, all I heard was burden. The second time, I heard the pause before it, the tiny breath Mom took as if she were stepping off a curb. The third time, I heard Dana in the background. I called Mom. It rang until voicemail. I called again. On the third attempt, Dana answered Mom's phone. "She's asleep. It's 7:30 there. She had a long day. Put the phone beside her." "No." "Then wake her up." "No." I walked away from the building and out toward the line of concrete barriers. Heat rose from the gravel even though the sun was dropping. She left me a message. "I know." She said Dad knew when it was time. I heard her. "What did you say to her?" Dana went very quiet. "What did you say?" "I told her I couldn't keep doing this." "That is not what I asked." She asked why I was rushing the move. I said, "Because if we wait until you get home, you'll fix enough things to make the house look safe, and then you'll leave, and I'll still be the one getting calls at 2 in the morning. So you made her think she was ruining your life." I told her the truth about mine. The distinction stopped me. Behind Dana, I heard dishes touching, not clattering, just being set down carefully. Eric was there. "Was that message her idea?" I asked. "Yes." "I don't believe you. That sounds convenient." She sounded like she was apologizing for existing. "Maybe because every conversation we have is about how to manage her. You're the one putting stickers on her furniture. And you're the one calling her doctor from another country. I haven't called yet." "But you will. She knew me. That was part of the problem. We had spent enough years apart to misunderstand each other's motives and enough years together to predict each other's methods." "Let me talk to her in the morning," I said. "You can call. I want her alone." "I'm not holding her hostage, Lena. I didn't say you were. You say things without technically saying them. It's a gift." Eric spoke somewhere near her. I couldn't hear the words. Dana covered the phone, though not well enough. "No, I'm not doing this with her," she told him. A moment later, Eric came on the line. "Hey, Lena." He sounded the way men sound when entering a room where 2 dogs have already shown their teeth. "Hi, Eric. Dana's pretty tapped out. I'm not trying to make it harder, I know." Dana said something sharp in the background. Eric lowered his voice. "She's missed a lot of work. She owns the business. That doesn't mean the clients wait." Dana had done bookkeeping from a rented office above a pharmacy for 12 years. She liked numbers because they stayed where she put them. People called her when payroll didn't balance, when quarterly taxes had been ignored, when someone's cousin had been paid cash for 6 months and suddenly required a name. She complained about every client as if they were relatives she had not chosen, then sent them reminder emails at midnight. "How bad is it?" I asked. "It's not a phone conversation. That means bad. It means it's between me and my wife. Then why bring it up? Because you asked why she can't keep doing this." "I didn't ask why. I heard why." He exhaled. "That's not the same as being here." There it was again. Geography used as a verdict. "No," I said. "It isn't." My agreement seemed to unsettle him. I could hear Dana telling him to give the phone back. "Eric, does Mom want to move?" He hesitated. "That's not a difficult question. It is, if you've been in that house lately. That still isn't an answer." "She's scared," he said. "She doesn't want you to know how scared." "Of the house? Of becoming somebody neither of you wants around." The line shifted. Dana came back. "That's enough. I need to speak to Mom before anything else gets packed. She'll be up around 6. I'll call at 6:15. You'll call at 6:30. She needs time to use the bathroom without an audience." Then she hung up. At 6:30 Indiana time, Mom answered. Her hair was damp and combed. She had positioned herself in front of the blank wall beside the refrigerator, giving me no view of the labeled dining room. "You look tired," she said. "So do you. I'm old. It's decorative." "Are you alone?" Her lips tightened. "Dana is walking Walter. Did she ask you to leave that message?" "No." "Did she tell you you're a burden?" "No." "Did she make you feel like one?" "That is an unfair question." "Why?" "Because feelings are loose dogs. They go through any gate you leave open." It sounded like something Dad might have said, except Dad would have blamed the gate. I sat at the metal desk and placed the phone against a stack of field manuals. "Do you want to move?" Mom looked toward the window. "I want Dana to stop looking like she hasn't slept since Easter. That isn't what I asked. I want you to finish your work without worrying that I've fallen every time I don't answer. Still not what I asked. I want my daughters to stop asking questions with only one acceptable response." I leaned back. "All right. What do you want for yourself?" She rubbed one thumb against the other. "I want to wake up in my own bedroom. I want Walter's nails clicking down the hall. I want coffee in your father's ugly mug. I want to stop finding new ways this house has become too much for me." That was the first honest answer any of us had given. "Would you try helping the house?" I did. Patrice came twice. She calls me Miss Ruth and folds towels into thirds. That can be corrected. It reveals character. "Mom." She almost smiled. "I might," she said. "But Dana says we can lose the room at Hawthorne. So lose it. And if I fall again next week, then we deal with next week. You say that because next week you'll be here." "Yes." "And the week after?" I looked at the interview date written on a card above my desk. My civilian employer had kept my role open through 3 deployments. The regional operations promotion would mean better money, fewer overnight site visits, and more control over my schedule. It would also mean Louisville, hotel rooms, and responsibility for facilities across 4 states. "I'll make a plan," I said. Mom closed her eyes briefly. "See?" she said. "That's what Dana means." It hurt because she said it gently. "And I'm trying." "I know, honey." "Will you give your doctor permission to talk to me?" "About what?" "Whether there's a medical reason you can't stay home right now." Dana already talked to her. "I want to hear it." Mom sighed. "Fine. And don't let them take anything else out of the house." "We haven't taken anything." "Don't label anything else." "That may be difficult." "Why?" "I like the tape." I stared at her. "It comes off clean," she said. "The blue painter's tape always tears. Mom, is this funny to you?" "No, but if I wait until life is funny before I laugh, your father will have to come back and improve his personality." Dana returned with Walter. His leash was wrapped around her wrist, and she carried a small paper bag from the bakery Mom liked. "I brought bear claws," she said. Mom reached for the bag. "After the blood draw." Mom's hand stopped. "Cruelty," she said. 6:30 tomorrow?" I asked. Dana glanced at the screen. "Sure." She didn't believe anything had changed. I spent the next day making calls. Dr. Patel spoke to me only after Mom gave permission. She was cautious and specific. Mom's blood pressure had dropped when she stood too quickly. One medication likely contributed to the dizziness. She needed follow-up blood work, regular meals, physical therapy, and a safer way to manage the basement stairs. "Does she require assisted living?" I asked. "That isn't a diagnosis I make after one fall. Is she cognitively impaired?" Your mother corrected the date on my computer. That sounded right. "So she can stay home?" "With support, if she chooses. The concern is whether the support is reliable. Reliable. Not generous. Not well-intended. Not available whenever a flight schedule cooperated. Reliable." Hawthorne Grove was less cautious. A woman named Celeste described the apartment as cozy 4 times. The 30-day trial was a monthly residency agreement with a community fee that would not be refunded. Mom could leave, but the apartment would not remain waiting while she reconsidered. Walter could visit. He could not live there unless he met an assistance animal policy he did not meet. Has my mother signed anything? I asked. I'd need to speak with the primary contact. Who is that? Dana Holloway. Of course. That afternoon, I asked for a meeting with Lieutenant Colonel Matthews. She was eating almonds one at a time while reviewing a spreadsheet, each almond receiving more consideration than most personnel requests. My replacement has already assumed the daily brief, I said. The closeout packets are complete. Kim can cover the remaining inventory reconciliation. You've rehearsed this. Yes, ma'am. How early? 5 days. She set down the almond. Family emergency? Family decision scheduled to become an emergency. That sounds avoidable. It was. By whom? I considered the question. All of us. Matthews studied me, then looked at the calendar. You have accrued leave. Transportation is the issue. I found a seat through Qatar, connecting in Chicago. I'll pay the fare difference. Your commercial travel after release is your responsibility. Yes, ma'am, and if this affects demobilization processing, I confirmed I can complete it at the Reserve Center. She leaned back. Do you want me to say no so you can be angry at the Army instead of your family? No. That answer surprised both of us. She signed the request. My company's human resources director was less flexible. The interview panel could keep the Tuesday slot, but rescheduling might push me into the next selection cycle. I understand, I said. Will you be available Tuesday? I looked at the green tape frozen in my memory. I don't know yet. I told Dana nothing. I told myself it was because she might move the date earlier. The less flattering truth was that I wanted to see the house before she prepared it for my inspection. During my connection in Chicago, her text arrived. Van confirmed for 7:45 Thursday. Mom is nervous but ready. I know you disagree. Please don't call tonight and upset her. I landed after midnight, rented the last compact car on the lot, and drove through 3 hours of darkness with my uniform jacket hanging behind me. At 6:12, I turned onto Birch Street. Dana opened the door holding a roll of red tape. You're not supposed to be here, she said. I know, I told her. That was the point. Dana stepped onto the porch and pulled the door nearly closed behind her. You flew home without telling anybody? I told the Army that's adorable. Move. No. Through the narrow gap, I could see Mom at the kitchen table. Her lipstick was brighter than anything else in the room. The navy slacks had a pressed crease. A paper cup from the bakery sat untouched beside her. Mom, I called. Dana lowered her voice. Do not do this to her. Do what? Arrive. Kick in the door because you found a seat on a plane. I'm not kicking anything. You wore the uniform. I came from the airport. You rented a car. My civilian clothes are in the duffel. So change in the car. For 1 second, I almost laughed. It was such a specifically sisterly demand. Not leave, not come back later. Take off those pants in a rented Nissan so nobody might mistake my job for an argument. Then Walter barked from inside the house, not his delivery truck bark. A high, repetitive sound. Why is he locked up? The movers will be here soon. I put one hand on the door. Dana put hers against the other side. Neither of us shoved. Let me in, I said. No orders, no speeches. You don't get to turn Mom's front yard into a stage. The only audience is a ceramic goose. The goose beside the steps wore a faded rain bonnet. Dad had hated it. Mom changed its clothes seasonally in his memory, though she claimed that was not why. Dana's mouth twitched and hardened again. Behind her, Mom said, For heaven's sake, let your sister in. The neighbors already have curtains open. Dana stepped back. The house smelled wrong. Not bad, exactly. Cardboard, coffee, lemon cleaner, and the raw, dusty smell that appeared when furniture was moved after years in one spot. Pale rectangles marked the paneled walls where photographs had hung. The flowered couch was still there, but its cushions were wrapped in plastic. Eric came out of the hallway carrying the bedroom mirror. He stopped so abruptly that the bottom corner bumped the wall. Lena. Careful, Mom said. That mirror has survived 2 houses and your father. Eric lowered it against the wall. He wore sweatpants, work boots, and a Colt sweatshirt with a paint stain across the horseshoe. His beard was longer than I remembered. He looked at Dana, then back at me. "I thought you got in Tuesday," he said. "I did too." I set my duffel beside Dad's recliner. A green label was stuck to its wooden arm. That surprised me. Mom had not sat in it since the funeral, but nobody else was allowed to either. Dana noticed me looking. She chose that. I didn't say anything. "You're building a case with your face." Mom pushed back from the table. The chair legs scraped the floor. I crossed the room before I could stop myself and put out a hand. She looked at it. I let it fall. Mom stood without help. She was thinner than she had looked on video. The coral lipstick made the skin around her mouth seem colorless, and a yellow bruise showed above the collar of her blouse. "You're early," she said. "I wanted to help." "No, you didn't." Dana turned away, but not before I saw the satisfaction flash across her face. Mom touched the sleeve of my uniform. "You wanted to stop it?" "Yes. Thank you for not lying." She hugged me. Her body felt smaller, but the hug was firm. I smelled her face powder and the coffee she had probably reheated twice. Over her shoulder, I saw the colored labels covering the room. Green on Dad's chair, one end table, 2 lamps, and 3 dining chairs. Yellow on the sewing machine and the cedar chest. Red on the china cabinet, the remaining chairs, and a stack of framed prints. My old deployment photograph leaned inside a donation box. I released Mom. "Why is that in there?" She followed my eyes. "I don't need 12 pictures of you in beige. It's 1 picture. Then I especially don't need 12. Dana picked up her coffee. "This is exactly why we didn't tell you sooner." "Because I asked about a photograph?" "Because every object becomes a hearing." I reached into the box. Beneath the framed picture were 2 commendation plaques, Dad's desk organizer, a ceramic bowl I had made in a community center class when I was 36 and briefly convinced I needed hobbies, and a plastic bag full of extension cords. Mom pointed at the bowl. "That can go. It was a gift. It leans. It has character. It has a structural defect." Eric coughed into his fist, hiding a laugh. For a moment, the room loosened. Then Dana looked at the clock. "The van will be here in an hour. It can leave empty." Mom sat down again. Dana placed both hands on the back of a chair. "No. Dr. Patel said there is no medical reason Mom has to move into Hawthorne. I know what Dr. Patel said." "Then why are you doing it?" "Because medical necessity isn't the only kind. Mom can stay here with regular help." "Who arranged that?" "I will. You got off a plane 6 hours ago. I spoke to an agency from Chicago. They can send someone tomorrow." "Tomorrow?" "For an assessment." Dana laughed. "An assessment? Perfect. Someone comes with a clipboard, asks if she can feed herself, and leaves us a brochure. It's a start." "No, it's your favorite part. The start," Eric said. "Dana." She ignored him. "You come in at the moment where everything is visible," she said. "The fall, the boxes, the van. You're excellent at visible emergencies. You know what you missed? Her calling me because the television remote stopped working. Her calling again because she thought the refrigerator sounded different. Her making a doctor's appointment and canceling it and making it again. Her standing in the driveway in her bathrobe because she forgot the garage code." "I did not forget it," Mom said. I reversed 2 numbers. At 11 at night. I was getting the newspaper. The newspaper comes at 5 in the morning. It was early. I looked at Mom. She studied her hands. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked. She gave me a tired look. "So you could call the garage door company?" The answer landed cleanly. I pulled out the chair across from her. "All right, I haven't been here. Dana has. I'm not arguing that." "Could have fooled me," Dana said. "But being exhausted doesn't give you the right to make every decision." She agreed. Did she know Walter couldn't go? Mom's chin lifted. "I knew." "When?" Nobody answered. "Before or after the deposit?" Dana's fingers tightened on the chair. Mom said, "Walter can stay with her. He can't live with Trixie. They'll adjust." Trixie bit him. "She grazed him," Dana said. She drew blood. "On his ear. There's hardly any blood in an ear." Eric looked at her. "That is not anatomically accurate. Stay out of it." "I am carrying a mirror at dawn. I'm in it." A truck engine rumbled somewhere on Birch Street. Dana checked the front window. "Not yet," she said. I stood. "Mom, tell me what you want to happen this morning." She looked toward the laundry room. Walter scratched again, then sneezed. "I want everyone to stop asking me that. That's not an option. It ought to be." Dana moved around the chair. "She has spent weeks making this decision. You told me it was days, because the fall made it urgent." "Weeks?" I asked Mom. She rubbed the coffee cup lid with her thumb. Eric sat on the arm of the flowered couch. The plastic crackled beneath him. Dana glanced at him. Something passed between them. "What?" I said. "No," Eric told Dana. My sister's face changed. Not guilt, calculation. "Tell me," I said. Dana picked up the red tape, set it down, then aligned it with the table's edge. "I talked to a real estate agent before the fall." Mom closed her eyes. My fatigue vanished. "About this house? About what it might sell for? You told me it was a 30-day trial. It is. You're preparing to sell her house. I'm preparing to keep options open. To whom?" "There's a couple relocating from Cincinnati. The agent said they might be interested if it's available quickly. Have they been here?" Dana didn't answer. "Have strangers walked through Mom's house?" "One woman." "With the agent." Mom said, "I was here." "That makes it fine?" "I didn't say that." The truck engine grew louder, then slowed. I looked through the window. A white moving van turned onto Birch Street. Dana's voice sharpened. "Do not embarrass her in front of the movers. They don't care. Not everyone can switch off caring what people think." The van stopped at the curb. 2 men got out, both holding insulated travel mugs. One checked his phone. The other looked at the house numbers. Dana reached for the door. I stepped in front of her. "You're not selling the house. It isn't your decision. It isn't yours either." Mom agreed. "To a trial, you turned it into a sale. Because keeping this place empty costs money. I'll cover it. Of course you will. What is wrong with you?" The question came out louder than I intended. Dana recoiled as if I had put a hand on her. Mom said, "Lena." But Dana was already speaking. "What's wrong with me is that I used money I didn't have to keep my business open while I was spending half my week here." The room went still. Eric stared at the floor. I said, "What money?" Dana's eyes moved to Mom. Mom removed the lid from her coffee, though there was nothing left inside. "I lent her some," she said. "How much?" "That's private." "How much, Dana?" "Don't interrogate her. I'm asking you." $18,000. I heard the number and then heard it again in my own head. Dana rushed into the silence. "I'm paying it back." The house sale would let Mom cover Hawthorne without touching her monthly income, and she wouldn't need the repayment immediately. That is not paying it back. "I have a schedule." "With what?" "Tape colors?" Her face went white. I knew instantly I had crossed from anger into cruelty. Knowing did not pull the words out of the room. The doorbell rang. Mom flinched. No one moved. It rang again, followed by a polite knock. I opened the door. A man in a brown knit cap smiled at me and glanced at his phone. "Morning." "Holloway move?" "Mercer," Mom said behind me. "My name is Mercer." The man's smile faltered. I said, "The move is canceled." Dana pushed past the chair. "No, it isn't." The mover looked from my uniform to Dana's red tape, then toward Mom. His face assumed the careful emptiness of someone who had witnessed family arguments professionally. "I'm the customer contact," Dana said. "We're proceeding." "I'm the customer," Mom said. Everything stopped. Mom stood, one hand on the table. The mover looked at her. "Ma'am?" She swallowed. "I need a minute." Dana's shoulders dropped. "Mom." I said a minute. The man nodded. "We'll wait in the truck." When the door closed, Mom turned to me. "Do you have an actual alternative?" she asked. "Or did you fly home with one word?" "Yes, what is it?" "Stay today. We get the medical issues managed. We bring in reliable help. We make the house safer. Then you choose without a van at the curb. And Dana?" I looked at my sister. Dana's eyes were wet, but her voice was hard. "Yes, Major, who takes care of Dana in your plan?" No answer I had would survive the room. Mom reached for the phone on the table and called the number printed on the moving estimate. She listened, gave her name, and handed the phone to me when they asked for payment. The cancellation fee was $900. I read my card number aloud while Dana tore the red tape into smaller and smaller pieces. When the van pulled away, no one watched except Walter, barking from behind the laundry room door. Dana picked up her purse. "Congratulations," she said to me. "You got here first." Then she walked out, leaving Mom's entire life divided into 3 colors. Eric stayed on the arm of the couch for several seconds after the front door shut. The plastic beneath him made a slow, squeaking sound. "I should go after her," he said. Mom nodded. "Take the bear claws." He looked at the bakery bag on the counter. "She'll say she doesn't want one," Mom added. "Give her 10 minutes. Eric stood and pulled his keys from his sweatshirt pocket. At the door, he turned to me. "She was wrong not to tell you." I waited for the rest. "You were wrong to come in assuming you were the only person who could see it." "What was I supposed to do?" "I don't know." He looked toward the street. "Maybe admit you didn't know before you canceled it." Then he left. Walter scratched at the laundry room door. Mom walked past me and opened it. He shot into the kitchen, slid on the linoleum, recovered his dignity, and launched himself at my knees. I crouched to pet him. He smelled like dog shampoo and the old towel Mom kept beside the washing machine. "Did Dana bathe him?" I asked. "Yesterday. She labeled my picture for donation and washed the dog." Mom bent to retrieve the leash. "People contain multitudes. Dana contains artillery. So do you." Walter shoved his head under my hand. I scratched behind his ears harder than necessary. Mom peeled the green label off Dad's chair. It came away in one piece. "See?" she said. "Excellent tape." I stood. "Why did you cancel?" "I believe we established there was a van. I mean, why did you decide not to go?" She folded the label onto itself, green against green, because I wasn't going to let 2 strange men carry me out while my daughters argued about who had failed me more. They weren't carrying you. You know what I mean. Do you still want the apartment? I don't know. Then canceling was right. Don't turn my confusion into your victory. The words made me look at her. Mom had always been small, but never delicate. Dad used to say she could make silence feel like a chair thrown across a room. Standing among the boxes in her coral lipstick, she looked tired enough to vanish and angry enough to prevent it. "I'm not," I said. "You paid $900 awfully fast. I didn't want the van waiting." "No, you wanted it gone." That was true. Its presence had felt like a countdown. Once it left, I had been able to breathe, which did not mean Mom could. She pointed at my duffel. "Take that out of your father's chair. It's beside the chair. It's touching the leg." I moved it. "What now?" she asked. "Breakfast. I had coffee." "That isn't breakfast." It had cream. I opened the refrigerator. Every shelf had been cleaned. Clear plastic containers were labeled in Dana's square handwriting. Thursday, Friday, freeze. There were sliced pears, boiled eggs, chicken salad, and 4 single servings of soup. I lifted one container. Did Dana make all this? Eric made the soup. He microwaved soup. He has expanded his ministry. There was a medication organizer on the counter, filled and labeled. Beside it lay a printed list of Mom's prescriptions, dosages, refill dates, and doctor numbers. Dana had highlighted the blood pressure medication in yellow. I looked around the kitchen again. The cupboards were half empty because Dana had packed them, but nothing necessary was missing. Coffee, 2 mugs, plates, silverware, toaster, Mom's preferred skillet. She had packed a move and left behind enough for a canceled one. I set the container down. "Eggs," I said. "I'm not hungry. You need to eat before your medication." Dana already gave me a person who tells me that. "Patrice?" "Yes." "When is she coming back?" 9. I checked the clock. "Today? Unless your invasion canceled her too." The doorbell rang at exactly 9. Patrice was in her late 50s, tall, broad-shouldered, and wearing lavender scrubs under a denim jacket. She carried a canvas tote that said, "I break for estate sales." She looked at my uniform, the boxes, and Mom's lipstick. "Moving day?" she asked. "Not anymore," Mom said. Patrice nodded as though canceled moves were common before breakfast. "You eat?" "Everyone is obsessed with that. That means no." Mom pointed at me. "My older daughter, Lena. She came home early to interfere." Patrice held out her hand. "Thank you for your interference." "Army Reserve," I said, shaking it. I didn't ask. Mom smiled. I liked Patrice less for earning that smile so quickly. She washed her hands, opened the refrigerator, and chose the boiled eggs without asking me. Mom complained that boiled eggs smelled like bus stations. "What do bus stations smell like?" Patrice asked. "Boiled eggs." "Then it's consistent." She put an egg, half a pear, and toast in front of Mom. Not too much. Nothing cinnamon. Mom began eating while insisting she was not. I stood near the counter. Patrice glanced at me. "You planning to remain vertical all morning?" "I'm fine. Coffee's there. I've had some." "You look like you had it in another time zone." Mom said, "She flew all night." Patrice gestured toward the table. "Sit." I sat before realizing I had obeyed. She checked Mom's blood pressure, asked about dizziness, and waded through the evasive answers without filling the silence. When Mom finally admitted she had felt lightheaded getting out of bed, Patrice wrote it down. "What agency are you with?" I asked. "Bright Path. How long have you worked there?" 6 years. "Are you licensed to fold towels?" Mom chewed her toast. "I mean for home care. I'm a certified nursing assistant. I can assist with daily care, monitor and record, cook, drive, and remind. I do not diagnose, prescribe, or tolerate people who say they're fine while holding furniture." Mom looked offended. I touched the dresser. "You gripped it like a cliff. Did Dana hire you?" I asked. "Dana arranged the intake." "Your mother hired me." I looked at Mom. "You said you'd only tried help twice." "I did." "You hired her?" "She doesn't talk to me like I'm an appliance. I thought you didn't like her towels." "I don't. Competence is rarely complete." Patrice hid a smile by checking the blood pressure cuff. "How often are you scheduled?" I asked. 3 mornings a week for 2 weeks. Then your mother was moving. Can you do 5 mornings?" "Don't discuss me over my head," Mom said. "You are sitting directly between us. Then show discipline." Patrice folded the cuff and put it away. "I can do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Another caregiver handles Tuesday and Thursday if Ruth wants daily coverage. I don't." I said 5 mornings would be safer until we understand the dizziness. Mom took a small bite of egg and glared at me while chewing. Patrice said, "Ruth, what would make 5 mornings feel less like surveillance?" 3 mornings. 4? Mom considered. "Does the other woman fold towels?" I can ask. Ask how. They settled on 4 mornings without me. That should have pleased me. Instead, I felt strangely removed. Dana had found Patrice. Mom trusted her. The arrangement I had flown home promising to create already existed in partial form. Patrice took Mom for her blood draw. I stayed behind to make calls. The first was to Hawthorne. Celeste told me only Mom or the primary contact could cancel the residency agreement. Mom had signed it. Dana had not forged or concealed that part. The second was to Rick Alvarez, who remembered the bathroom grab bars and Mom's complaints about the brushed nickel finish. He could install a second stair rail Saturday, but he couldn't make a basement safer for someone dizzy. "Move what she needs upstairs," he said. "I know." "Then why are you calling me?" "For the rail. Right. Saturday." The third call was from my civilian manager, Mark Delaney. "Welcome back to the hemisphere," he said. "You sound terrible." "Thank you. You still good for Tuesday?" I looked at the boxes surrounding me. "Yes." There was a pause. "You sure?" "Yes." Regional panel is 6 people. Rescheduling won't be easy. I understand. And if you get it, we need you in Louisville most weeks during transition. I understand that too. After we hung up, I opened the basement door. 14 wooden steps descended under one bare bulb. The railing on the right side ended 2 steps before the concrete floor. Laundry baskets were stacked at the bottom. The blue sweater lay on top of the dryer, neatly folded now. Shelves along the wall held canned tomatoes, paper towels, detergent, Christmas decorations, Dad's tools, and enough birdseed to feed the eastern half of the state. I carried up the laundry baskets first, then the detergent, canned food, and a small toolbox. By the time Mom returned, the kitchen table was covered with basement supplies. She stopped in the doorway. "What happened?" "I moved what you use most, onto the table where I eat. Temporarily." Patrice looked past me toward the basement. "You carry all that yourself?" "Yes." "You sleep?" "On planes." "That's not sleep." Mom put her purse down. "Where are my tomatoes supposed to go? I'll reorganize the pantry. The pantry is packed. I'll unpack it. The shelves won't hold all those cans. Then we'll donate some." Mom stared at me. Patrice quietly removed her jacket. "What?" I asked. "My tomatoes are not red tape." "I didn't say they were. You came home angry because Dana decided what I should lose. And your first morning here, you brought half my basement upstairs and decided the same thing. That's different. Because your tape is invisible?" I looked at the crowded table. Detergent beside the sugar bowl, birdseed beside Mom's blood pressure paperwork, a hammer lying across a placemat. Patrice said, "I'm going to make tea." No one had asked her to. Mom lowered herself into a chair. "I appreciate that you came," she said. "I appreciate that you care. But you don't get to come home 5 days early and compress 5 years of decisions into one weekend. I'm trying to keep you from falling. I know. Then help me. I am not one of your inventories, Lena." I took the hammer off the placemat. "No," I said. "Inventories stay where you put them." Mom looked toward the window. Dana's car had left 2 narrow tire marks in the damp grass beside the driveway. "She won't answer me," Mom said. "Have you called?" "Twice." I checked my phone. My own message to Dana still showed unread. Mom touched the green label she had folded into a little square. "You stopped the van," she said. "Now you need to figure out what you actually brought home besides yourself." I put the basement things back, not all of them. Mom agreed the detergent could live under the kitchen sink and the paper towels could go in the hall closet. The canned tomatoes returned downstairs after she made me count them. 27, I said. 28. I counted twice. "You missed the crushed tomatoes behind the peaches. Why are tomatoes behind peaches?" They know what they did. We went down together. I walked 1 step below her without touching her, which was more difficult than simply carrying her would have been. At the bottom, she found the missing can and held it up with the satisfaction of a prosecutor introducing evidence. 28. I stand corrected. "You rarely do." On the way back, she kept one hand on the railing. At the 3rd step, she paused. "Dizzy?" "No." "Mom." I'm catching my breath. Which feels like what? Like I am talking to someone who went to medical school in her imagination. Her fingers tightened on the wood. I waited. After several seconds, she continued. Her legs looked unsteady under the navy slacks. I stayed 1 step below her all the way up. She knew I was doing it and hated me for seeing the need. When we reached the kitchen, she sat without being asked. "Those stairs are done," I said. "No, you almost fell." I paused. "You were dizzy. I was winded. You can be both, and you can be quiet in theory." I took the basement key from the hook beside the door. Mom watched me put it in my pocket. "You criticize Dana's tape and confiscate my key until the second railing is installed. Give it back." "No." "Lena, not today." Her face closed. It was the first order I gave her after promising myself I wouldn't. It would not be the last. I slept 4 hours that afternoon in Dad's recliner. When I woke, someone had draped a blanket over me and removed my boots. Mom denied doing either. "Walter is very capable," she said. My neck hurt. My mouth tasted like metal. The house was quiet in the way houses become quiet after an argument, every small sound choosing a side. I checked my phone. Dana had read my message. She had not answered. I wrote another. We need to talk about Mom's schedule and the loan. I am not offering to lecture you. 3 dots appeared, vanished, returned, then vanished for good. Mom was slicing an apple at the counter when I walked in. She used the same paring knife she'd had since I was in high school, its wooden handle bleached around the rivets. "I'm going to Dana's," I said. No, I wasn't asking permission, neither was I. I reached for my jacket. Leave her alone today. She helped arrange a move, took $18,000 from you, and planned to sell your house. We don't get to leave that alone. I lent her the money. She should have told me. Why? Because I send money for this house. That does not purchase a seat in every conversation. I stopped with one arm in the jacket. Did she tell you I wouldn't help? Mom looked down at the apple. She said you had plans for your money. What plans? You should ask her. I'm asking you. And I am finished answering questions today. She cut the apple in half with more force than necessary. I drove to Dana's condo. Trixie began barking before I knocked. Her bark was deeper than Walter's and carried personal criticism. Eric opened the door with the terrier tucked under one arm. She bites? I asked. Only ears, apparently. Trixie stared at my ears. Is Dana here? She's in the shower. I'll wait. That wasn't an invitation. Then tell her I'll be in the parking lot. Eric adjusted the dog. Lena, give her a day. She's had a day. It's been 6 hours. It feels longer. To you. I looked past him. Dana's purse was on the hall table beside the bakery bag. One bear claw remained inside, visible through the folded paper. I'm not here to fight, I said. Did you bring a list? No. A contractor? No. Colored tape? Eric. He exhaled and stepped aside. The condo was smaller than I remembered and cleaner in the nervous way of a place where 2 people had recently argued. Trixie followed me into the living room, growling whenever I looked directly at her. There were blankets folded on the couch. Are you sleeping in here? I asked. Eric picked up the blankets. Sometimes I watch television late. You don't have to protect her from facts. Everybody in your family says that right before using one as a weapon. The bathroom door opened. Dana came down the hall in jeans and a gray sweater, rubbing her hair with a towel. She stopped when she saw me. I told you not to let her in. You did not, Eric said. I communicated it with my entire body. You were in the shower. She threw the towel over the banister. What do you want? To understand what you did. Then go home and look at the empty van. I'm not asking about the van. Of course you are. You're going to call every conversation a different name, but it's the van. I sat in the chair nearest the door. Trixie took up position at my right boot. The $18,000, I said. When did Mom lend it to you? Dana folded her arms. Last fall. For the business? For expenses. What kind? The kind with dollar signs. Rent, payroll, taxes. All of them, at different times. Eric went into the kitchen. Cabinet doors opened, then closed. You told her you'd repay it from the house sale? No, I told her I'd repay it monthly. Are you? $400 a month. At that rate, it takes years. I can divide. Then why rush the sale? I didn't rush a sale. I talked to an agent. You brought her through the house. Mom agreed. Mom agrees to things when she thinks saying no makes her a burden. Dana's eyes flashed. And who taught her that? Me? The question stopped both of us. Dad had never said he was in pain until the pain took away his choices. Mom had cooked, driven, lifted, bathed, scheduled, and smiled while he apologized for every glass of water. Dana and I had praised her for being strong. We had praised him for never complaining. We had built a family religion around needing nothing. I said, no, not just you. Dana looked away first. The business was fine before Dad got sick, she said. Then it was almost fine. Then Mom started needing more. I kept thinking I could make up the hours at night. Why didn't you tell me? I did. You never said you were losing clients. I told you I was stretched thin. That could mean anything. It meant I was stretched thin. That isn't a number. She laughed without humor. Right. If I'd submitted the correct form, you would have cared properly. I would have helped. You mean sent money. If that was what you needed. What I needed was one Tuesday where the pharmacy called you first. I leaned back. Trixie sniffed my bootlace. I couldn't be the first call from Kuwait. You weren't in Kuwait last fall. I was preparing to leave. You're always preparing to leave or preparing to come home. That's not fair. No. Fair would have been Mom calling both of us when she forgot the garage code. She called me because I'm 12 minutes away. Then she told you the next day that everything was fine. I didn't know. You keep saying that like it clears you. I'm saying it because it's true. So is gravity. The phrase belonged to her argument with Mom. Hearing it again made me realize how often Dana had been repeating herself without anyone listening. Eric returned with 3 glasses of water and put one in front of each of us. I don't want your money, Dana said. I didn't offer it. You were about to. I was going to ask whether Mom can afford to lose $18,000. She hasn't lost it. You're losing clients. I lost 2. One came back. Why? His replacement bookkeeper entered his payroll taxes as office supplies. Despite myself, I smiled. Dana did too, briefly. Moron. There she is. Her smile disappeared. I drank some water. What did you tell Mom about my money? Dana looked at Eric. He picked up Trixie and said, I'm going to walk the dog. You don't have to leave, Dana said. Yes, I do. The door shut behind him. Dana sat on the edge of the couch. Mom asked why you weren't paying for the home care hours. I didn't know there were home care hours. I know that now. What did you tell her? I said you had your own life to fund. That you were looking at the promotion and Louisville apartments aren't cheap. I never said I was moving to Louisville. You said you might need a place during the week. For the job. Mom heard it as your future. I didn't correct her. So she lent you money because she thought I was done helping. No, she lent me money because I asked. And you made sure I looked unavailable. Dana's jaw tightened. You were unavailable. I sent $3,000 for the roof in January. And I scheduled the estimate, met the roofer, moved her car, cleaned nails out of the flower beds, and drove her to my house because the pounding scared Walter. I was deployed. You weren't in January, I was at training. Your reasons are always real, Lena. That doesn't make the result imaginary. I stood because if I stayed seated, I was going to say something unforgivable. I need the care schedule. It's on Mom's refrigerator. I need the parts that aren't written down. Dana looked up at me. Trash night. Which pharmacy clerk actually calls back? How to get her to eat when she says she isn't hungry? All of it. You wanted the job. No, I wanted a sister who didn't arrange our mother's disappearance. She went pale. I hated the sentence before it finished leaving me. I opened the door. Behind me, Dana said, Thursday is trash night. She'll tell you Friday because she hates hearing the truck before sunrise. Mrs. Coe at the pharmacy answers after 2. Mom eats if you put food in front of her and stop naming it. I turned. Dana's eyes were wet again. And don't call her at 8 tomorrow, she said. She watches the church service on television. I know that. No, you don't. They changed the time last month. She picked up the untouched bear claw and tore it in half. I left with half a schedule and no apology either of us could use. Mom had eaten half a chicken salad sandwich by the time I got back. The other half sat beside her untouched, which meant Dana's advice had worked. Mom had eaten because nobody was naming the meal. She looked at me over her reading glasses. How was the peace conference? There was no peace. Then you went to the wrong conference. I hung my jacket on the chair. You shouldn't have lent her $18,000. You shouldn't have spent $900 sending away an empty truck. That was my money. Mom folded the newspaper. There were days when I could identify my own hypocrisy in real time and still be unable to stop it. I'm sorry, I said. For which part? The part where your money became my business and mine stayed mine. Good. Dana implied I wasn't going to help you. She said you were saving for a place in Louisville. I said I might rent something during the week if I get the regional job. That sounds expensive. It also pays more. It also puts you farther away. 10 minutes farther than my house is now. You timed it? Of course I timed it. Mom gave me a small smile. There you are. I sat across from her. I didn't stop contributing. I know. Did you know then? Her smile disappeared. I knew you had your plans. That isn't an answer. It is the answer I have. I looked at the sandwich. Why did you lend her the money? Because she asked. Did she tell you the business was in trouble? She said cash flow was difficult. That's a phrase people use when they don't want to say trouble. She also said she'd pay me back. At $400 a month, I'm 71, not terminal. That isn't funny. It was a little funny. I reached for the other sandwich half and took a bite. Mom watched me chew. You make the same face your father did when the mayonnaise had pepper in it, she said. I don't make a face. That one. We ate in silence. Afterward, I gave her the basement key back. She turned it over in her palm. What changed? The railing still ends too early. You're still dizzy. I still don't want you going down there alone. Then why give it back? Because it's your key. She hung it on the hook. I won't go down alone, she said. It was the smallest possible agreement. I accepted it without trying to enlarge it. Rick Alvarez arrived Saturday morning in a battered white pickup with one blue door. He carried 3 lengths of wood onto the porch and made Mom choose between them. They're all rails, she said. One is oak, one is maple, one is whatever they had too much of. Which is cheapest? The ugly one. She pointed. That. Rick looked at me. She chose this bathroom finish, too. I chose brushed nickel, Mom said. You chose the box with a dent. It was 10% off. He had known my parents since Dad worked maintenance at the paper products plant. Rick talked to Mom as if nothing about her had become fragile. He also removed the basement key from the hook before he started and put it in his own pocket without asking. Mom saw him do it and said nothing. The drill screamed through the stairwell. Walter barked at every burst. Mom sat at the kitchen table with her fingers in her ears. This is safer, she shouted. Eventually, I shouted back. What? Yes. She rolled her eyes. I used the noise as an excuse to open boxes. We needed the hallway clear, and the donation stack blocked the path between the living room and kitchen. I separated obvious trash from things that required decisions. Old magazines, a lamp with a cracked base, 3 extension cords knotted into one another like snakes in winter. The ceramic bowl I had made went onto the keep pile despite Mom's objections. My deployment photograph was still face down in the donation box. I lifted it out. It had been taken during my second deployment. I was 31, squinting into the sun beside a vehicle coated in dust. The uniform was an older pattern. My hair was pulled back too tightly, and I had the thin, fierce face of someone who believed exhaustion could be defeated by refusing to mention it. 2 plaques lay beneath the photograph. One recognized a logistics operation after a flood response. The other was from my first command assignment. Neither was valuable. They were wood-patterned laminate with brass-colored plates. A green label marked Mom's framed wedding photograph. Red marked mine. I carried all 3 into the kitchen. Did you put these in the donation box? I asked. Mom removed one finger from her ear. What? I waited for the drill to stop. Those. She looked at the photograph, then at the plaques. I don't have room for everything. You have room for Dad's chair. I sit in that. No, you don't. I might. What about the ceramic cats? They're small. There are 14. Your aunt gave me those. One is wearing a sombrero. She traveled. I set the plaques on the table. Did Dana label these? Mom looked toward the stairwell. We went through the walls together. That wasn't my question. She held the tape. I made decisions, so you decided to donate them. I thought you'd take them. They were in a donation box. Then take them now. The drill started again. Conversation became impossible. I carried the photograph and plaques upstairs to my old bedroom. The room had not been mine in years. Mom used it for sewing and storing things she intended to repair. My dresser remained against one wall, though its drawers held fabric. The narrow bed was stacked with boxes labeled storage. Dad's roll-top desk occupied the corner beneath the window. A yellow label hung from one brass handle. I put the photograph on the dresser and leaned the plaques behind it. That should have been enough. They were mine. Mom's walls were hers. Instead, I stood there feeling 12 years old. I remembered mailing her the first plaque because I couldn't fit it in my luggage. Dad had hung it in the living room before I got home. He had measured the distance from the ceiling twice, then drilled the hole off-center anyway. For years, Mom kept the photograph beneath it. At some point, both had come down. I had never noticed. When the drill stopped, Dana was in the kitchen. I heard her before I saw her. "You picked the cheap rail, didn't you?" "It holds the same weight," Mom said. "That isn't what I asked." I stayed on the stairs, listening. Dana had brought a bag from the pharmacy and a new box of blood pressure test strips. She wore dark slacks and a blouse instead of jeans, as though she had come from meeting a client. There were rain spots on her shoulders. Mom said, "Your sister returned the basement key. Amazing restraint." "I can hear you," I said. Dana looked up, I assumed. I came down carrying the red label from the photograph. I had peeled it off the frame and folded it around my finger. "Mom called," Dana said. "I know." She said, "Rick was here." "He is. I can see his truck." "Then why did you explain it?" "Because every sentence with you now feels like testimony." Rick emerged from the basement, wiped his hands on his pants, and looked between us. "Rail's done. I'm going to the hardware store for 2 longer bolts." "You said it was done," Mom said. "It's safely done. I want it annoyingly done." When he left, Dana unpacked the pharmacy bag. She placed the test strips beside Mom's medication organizer, lined up the receipt with the counter edge, and opened the refrigerator to inspect what remained. The ease of her movements irritated me because it belonged there. I put the red label on the counter. "Why did you mark my things for donation?" She didn't turn around. Mom told me what she wanted. My photo, my plaques. "You can take them. You packed them under extension cords. The cords went on top later." "That's your defense?" Dana closed the refrigerator. "What do you want me to say?" There were hundreds of decisions. I asked keep, store, donate. She said donate. Mom stood at the sink, rinsing a coffee cup that was already clean. I looked at her. "Why?" "They're your things. They were on your wall. It's my wall." "Yes." "Then why are we doing this?" "Because I want to know." Mom shut off the water. For several seconds, the only sound was Walter sniffing the pharmacy bag. Then she dried her hands. "Mrs. Ellis came over after your promotion to major," she said. She saw the new photograph and spent 20 minutes telling me how proud I must be. Dana was standing beside me with groceries. Dana went still. Mom kept folding the dish towel into smaller rectangles. "Mrs. Ellis called you my devoted daughter. She asked Dana if she was visiting." I looked at my sister. Dana gave a short laugh. "She's 90. She thinks the mailman is Tom Brokaw." "But you took the picture down," I said to Mom. "Not that day." "When?" "Later." "Why?" "Because people asked about you. They saw the uniform and asked where you were, what you did, when you were coming home." Nobody asked Dana why she had a key. Dana's face had gone red. "So you hid it?" I asked. "I put it upstairs. You made my service disappear because the neighbors were rude to Dana. Don't make it grander than it was. It mattered to me. Then you should have taken it. You never told me it bothered her." "It didn't," Dana said. Mom looked at her. "Yes, it did. I did not ask you to remove anything." "No. You just stopped coming inside when Mrs. Ellis was here." Dana pushed the pharmacy receipt into her purse. I expected her to leave again. Instead, she pulled out a chair and sat. "It wasn't the picture," she said. "It was everybody acting like sacrifice only counted if it came with a uniform." The folded red label tightened around my finger. My service wasn't pretend. I didn't say it was. You mocked it every chance you got, because it filled every room even when you weren't in one. Mom put the dish towel down. "I should have stopped comparing you," she said. Neither of us answered. "I praised Lena to you because she wasn't here," Mom told Dana. "I praised you to Lena because you were. I thought I was making both of you feel appreciated. You made both of us feel replaceable," I said. Mom sat. Rick's drill started again below us. Walter resumed barking. The absurd noise saved us from having to respond. Dana reached across the counter and unwound the red tape from my finger before it cut deeper. She folded it once and set it down. "I can come Monday afternoon," she said. "We can go through the care schedule." It wasn't an apology. I looked at the pharmacy bag, the canceled moving labels, and my mother's lowered face. "Okay," I said. It wasn't forgiveness either. Monday afternoon, Dana arrived with a legal pad, 2 pens, and no colored tape. She put everything on the kitchen table and sat across from me. Mom remained standing at the counter, stirring powdered creamer into coffee she had already added cream to. "Sit down," Dana said. "I am not attending my own custody hearing. No one is taking custody of you. That is exactly what people say at custody hearings." I pulled out the third chair. "You asked us not to talk over your head. I also asked you not to turn the table into a basement." She sat. Dana wrote Patrice at the top of the page. "No," Mom said. Dana put down the pen. "What now? Start with me. I know your name. It hasn't appeared anywhere in this plan." Dana crossed out Patrice and wrote Ruth in capital letters. Mom nodded. Better. We built the schedule around her. Patrice would come Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings. Another caregiver from Bright Path, Simone, would come Thursday. Mom refused Tuesday because that was when she watered her plants and called her cousin in Fort Wayne, as if another human being in the house would disrupt either activity through magnetic force. Physical therapy moved to Wednesday afternoon so Patrice could drive. Mom's medication would be prepared by her, supervised by no one, and checked only if she asked. The basement required a second adult until Dr. Patel cleared the dizziness. "Second adult," Mom said, "not second daughter." Dana wrote it down. I would stay at the house until the follow-up appointment, then sleep at my own place unless Mom asked otherwise. My house was 45 minutes away, an inconvenient fact I had spent years describing as close. Dana would handle Thursday groceries for the next 2 weeks. After that, I'm done with standing commitments, she said. Mom stared at her. Dana kept her eyes on the paper. I'll visit, I'll take calls when I can, but I am not the default person anymore. You're punishing me, Mom said. No, you know I hate ordering groceries. I'll show you. I know how. Then order them. Mom's mouth compressed. I said, I can do Thursdays after 2 weeks. Dana looked at me. You work. So do you. Yes, that was my entire point. We can rotate. No, rotating means I spend every Thursday wondering whether you're out of town and waiting for a text. I'll tell you in advance. You told me your flight date in advance. The old argument appeared so quickly, it was almost impressive. Mom slapped one palm against the table. Not hard, but enough. Thursday groceries will be delivered, she said. If I order the wrong yogurt, I will survive. Dana and I went quiet. Mom took the pen and wrote delivery. Her handwriting had become shakier, but the word was clear. Good, I said. Don't sound surprised. I'm not. You have surprise eyebrows. Dana covered her mouth. A laugh escaped anyway. Mom pointed the pen at her. Yours are worse. The schedule took 2 hours because every practical decision carried an old grievance inside it. Who held the spare key became a discussion about trust. Who drove to appointments became a discussion about careers. Whether Eric stayed on the emergency list became a discussion about Dana's marriage, which ended when Dana said, Eric is not available for use as family infrastructure. Still, by 5, we had something all 3 of us had touched. Dana tore the page from the pad. Mom stopped her. Leave it attached. It lies flatter by itself. I want to change things. Then use a pencil. You brought pens. Dana looked at me. Do not involve me, I said. She left the page attached. Before going home, she took an envelope from her purse and placed it beside Mom's coffee cup. Mom opened it. $400. You could have transferred this, she said. I wanted you to see it. I believe numbers in a bank. I wanted Lena to see it. The admission stiffened my shoulders. Dana met my eyes. This is July, she said. I miss June. I'll catch it up next month. I wanted to ask how. I wanted to calculate what remained, what interest Mom could have earned, how long Dana's business could sustain even 400. Instead, I said, "Okay." Dana waited, perhaps for more. Mom tucked the money back into the envelope. "You're both making $400 extremely uncomfortable." "It started it," I said. Mom smiled. Dana nearly did. That night, I prepared for the interview at the same kitchen table. My notes looked ridiculous among Mom's pill organizer, a grocery flyer, and a bowl of peaches. I had written examples of cost reduction, team development, emergency response, and vendor accountability. They were good examples. I had spent years getting good at describing competence in rooms where nobody had watched me earn it. Mom shuffled in wearing her robe. "You're still up, so are you. I live here." Strong argument. She opened the refrigerator, stared inside, and closed it. "What do you need?" "Nothing." "You got out of bed for nothing?" I wanted to see if the refrigerator still sounded different. I listened. It hummed. "Sounds normal." "That is what Dana said." "Then why check?" "Because both my daughters are often wrong in different ways." She sat across from me and adjusted her robe. "What will they ask? Why I want the job? How I'd manage multiple sites? How I deal with conflict? You should tell them about the tape." "I'd like the job." "Then don't." I closed the folder. "If I get it, there's more travel." "How much?" 2 or 3 nights some weeks, less other weeks. "And Louisville?" "I'm already based there. I might rent a small place closer to the office instead of driving back and forth on heavy weeks." "To save time." "Yes." "Time for what?" The question irritated me because I had asked it of myself and found no satisfying answer. Sleep, work, not spending 3 hours on the highway. Mom touched the edge of my notes. "You should take it if they offer." "You thought I was moving away." "I thought Dana needed the money more than I did." "That isn't the same thing." "No." It was a separate mistake. I studied her. "I don't know how available I can be," I said. "For me, for the job, because of me, because things changed." Mom looked toward the dark living room, where Dad's chair had returned to its exact place against the crooked paneling. "Things were changing while you were gone," she said. "You just got home in time to see them." The interview was at 10 the next morning in a conference room with windows overlooking 6 lanes of Louisville traffic. Mark met me in the lobby and looked at my suit. "You own clothes without pockets on the sleeves." "Rental." He smiled, then studied my face. "You ready?" "Yes." It was an automatic answer. We both heard it. The panel asked good questions. I told them about rerouting supplies after a warehouse sprinkler failure, mediating between a site manager and a contractor, and reducing equipment downtime without cutting maintenance. I did not talk about my family. I did not mention that I had slept in 40-minute stretches, because every time the house shifted, I thought Mom was on the stairs. The final question came from a vice president named Marisol Bennett. This role requires rapid response across 4 states. Sometimes that means leaving the same day. Is there anything that limits your ability to do that? 6 people watched me. "No," I said. The word came out smoothly. Marisol glanced down at my resume. "You've just returned from deployment." "Yes, most people need a transition period. I transition quickly." Mark shifted in his chair. There was my clean meeting voice again, the one that turned a complicated truth into an obstacle I could step over. Marisol asked, "What does support look like for you outside work?" I had prepared for strategy, budgets, travel, personnel. Not that. "My family is nearby," I said. Nearby. Dana, who was trying to save a business and a marriage. Mom, who had nearly been moved out of her house because neither daughter could admit what she could and could not carry. I looked at the 6 faces. "I need to amend my first answer," I said. Marisol waited. "My mother recently had a fall. We have reliable daytime support in place, and my sister and I are sharing what remains. I can travel, but same-day departures may require coordination for the immediate future. How long? I don't know yet." The truth sat in the center of the polished table. Nobody punished me. Nobody admired me either. Marisol thanked me and moved to the next question. Mark called Friday afternoon. They had chosen a candidate from Cincinnati who had managed 3 sites and could begin immediately. "You interviewed well," he said. "That's what people say when someone else interviewed better. You were the stronger operations candidate. But they need flexibility now." I stood in the hallway outside Mom's physical therapy room, watching through the glass as she lifted one foot onto a foam block. Patrice stood beside her, not touching. "There may be another regional opening next year," Mark said. "Okay, you all right?" "Yes." He was quiet. "No," I said, "but I will be." After the call, I watched Mom complete 10 repetitions. The therapist said, "Awesome," after the last one. Mom looked through the glass and found me. She could tell from my face. On the drive home, she waited until we passed the pharmacy. "You didn't get it?" "No." "Because of me?" "No." "Lena, because another person fit what they need right now, and you didn't. Not right now." Mom turned toward the passenger window. At a stoplight, she said, "Your father would tell you it wasn't meant to be." Dad said that whenever something was already over, he found hindsight spiritually comforting. I laughed once. She put her hand on my forearm. "I'm sorry." I wanted to tell her not to be. I wanted to say the interview had been my choice. The answer had been my choice. Coming home had been my choice. Instead, I covered her hand with mine until the light changed. The schedule worked badly at first. Simone called Mom Sweetie, which ended Thursday care after 23 minutes. Patrice negotiated an extra morning. Grocery delivery substituted lemon yogurt for vanilla and left the bags against the garage instead of the front door. Mom missed Dana and complained about her in equal amounts. I returned to my regular job, driving to Louisville before dawn and back after dark 3 days a week. On the others, I worked from Mom's dining room while she attempted to whisper during calls. Her whisper was louder than speech. "Do you want soup?" she stage whispered during a budget meeting. I muted myself. "No. Chicken or tomato?" "Neither." She brought chicken. Dana came on Mondays to review appointments. At first, she stayed only 20 minutes, then 40. She never removed her coat. The second monthly repayment was $600, not $8. "I'll catch up," she said. Mom accepted the envelope without rescuing her from the discomfort. I learned that Mrs. Coe at the pharmacy answered after 2, that Mom would perform her exercises if Walter was given a treat after each set, and that the refrigerator really did make a new rattling sound when the ice maker filled. Dana learned to text me before solving a problem. "Do you want to handle cardiology or should I?" "You," I replied. "I'll take the furnace inspection. Not everything improved." I still checked the basement key every time I entered the kitchen. Mom still hid dizziness when she thought admitting it would change the schedule. Dana still used Major when she wanted to hurt me and sister when she wanted something carried. But one Monday in October, she came inside, took off her coat, and sat at the table before anyone asked. She slid a job posting toward us. Senior bookkeeper, full salary, benefits, predictable hours. I applied, she said. Mom reached for her glasses. "What about your business?" I asked. Dana looked at the colored labels still stuck to the side of the china cabinet. "I think," she said, "I've confused keeping something alive with proving I didn't fail it." Mom read the posting twice. "Benefits," she said. "That's what it says," Dana replied. "Dental?" "Yes, you should take it. I applied. I don't have it." "You will." Dana looked at me. "See? This is how she creates pressure and calls it encouragement." Mom handed back the paper. "You're excellent with numbers. So are thousands of people. Not the way you are." "How am I?" "Judgmental." I laughed. Dana pointed at me. "You're next." Mom ignored us. "What happens to your clients?" "I keep a few evenings until their year-end work is done. The others get referrals." "And the office?" "My lease ends in December." There was grief in the way she said it. Not panic, not shame. Grief had less movement to it. It simply occupied the chair. I asked, "Do you want help packing?" Dana's eyes narrowed. "The office," I said. "Not Mom." "I know what you meant. Then why are you looking at me like that? Because you enjoy packing more than normal people. I enjoy completing tasks. You label charging cords. They're all black." Mom stirred her coffee. "If you two are finished flirting, I need the furnace filter changed." Dana got the bookkeeping job 3 days later. She did not announce it. Eric did by sending Mom and me the same message in separate threads because he did not trust a family group chat. She got it. Please act surprised when she tells you. Dana waited until Monday, sat at the table and said, "They made an offer." Mom widened her eyes so theatrically that Walter barked. I said, "Eric told us." "Of course he did. He was proud. He was unsupervised." The new job started in November. Dana wore real shoes again and complained that the office coffee tasted like wet cardboard. She closed the rented office a week before Thanksgiving. I helped carry boxes down the narrow stairs while she directed me not to tilt anything containing tax records. "You know I move military equipment," I said. "Military equipment does not call screaming because you bent its 1099. At the bottom, we loaded the last box into Eric's car. The pharmacy sign buzzed above us. Dana locked the office and kept her hand on the key. "I thought I'd retire from here," she said. "You hated the carpet. I chose the carpet. It's the color of oatmeal. It hides toner." Rain tapped against the awning. "You didn't fail," I said. She put the key in her purse. "Don't. I mean it. I know. That's why." She walked to the car before I could make the sentence useful. Her first paycheck produced a $400 payment to Mom and $100 toward June. She did not explain the arithmetic. Mom did not ask. Every Friday after that, a smaller amount moved between their accounts. Dana had created a repayment schedule she could keep instead of one that looked impressive on paper. Eric stopped sleeping on the couch often enough that the blankets returned to the hall closet. I knew because he told me, "You can stop checking the couch every time you visit." I wasn't checking. You have inspection eyes. I also returned to my own house. The first night, I woke at 2:13 certain I had heard Mom walking toward the basement. I was standing in my own hallway before I remembered I was 45 minutes away. I called her at 7. "You're up early," she said. "So are you. I live here." She had begun using my lines against me. Dr. Patel adjusted her medication again. The dizziness improved, but did not disappear. Mom stopped pretending it had. She learned to say, "Give me a second," when she stood, which sounded small until I remembered how hard it had been for her to admit to needing one. The care schedule settled into something almost ordinary. Patrice came 4 mornings. Dana did Monday visits. I handled maintenance, 2 appointments a month, and Sunday dinners. Mom ordered her own groceries, though she complained that the delivery app concealed the expiration dates. The house remained packed in places. We cleared the hallway and unpacked the kitchen, but the dining room held a wall of yellow boxes. Mom was not ready to decide whether storage meant someday or never. The red labels disappeared. I found them one morning curled into a trash can under coffee grounds. Snow came early in December, then melted. The next storm arrived as freezing rain on a Wednesday afternoon. Patrice texted that she was taking Mom to physical therapy early so they could be home before the roads worsened. I was in Louisville, closing out a vendor review. Dana's office dismissed everyone at 3. At 4:14, Mom sent us a photograph of Walter wearing Dad's old knit cap. The hat covered his eyes. "Weather emergency preparations complete," she wrote. Dana replied, "That dog has suffered enough." I sent flashlights charged. Mom answered with a photograph of one flashlight glowing on the counter. It did not occur to me to ask where the others were. The power went out at 6:30. I knew because Mom called at 6:42. "The house is quiet," she said. I was at my own kitchen counter eating cereal over the sink. Outside, sleet ticked against the windows. Power, apparently. "You have the flashlight?" I had it. "Where is it?" If I knew, I would have it. I put down the bowl. "Use your phone light. I am using my phone as a phone. You can use both." "That seems greedy." I heard Walter whining. Is the house getting cold? It has been 12 minutes. You're timing it? No. The clock stopped at 6:30. Where are you? Living room. Stay there. Silence. Mom? You do realize that phrase makes me want to move immediately, then move carefully. Get a blanket. I have one. You said you were moving. I can move in principle. I grabbed my overnight bag from the hall closet. It was still packed from habit: clothes, toiletries, charger, flashlight, spare batteries. Military experience had made me prepared for 36 hours, almost anywhere, and strangely helpless in my own kitchen. I'm coming over. No. Yes, the roads are ice, which is why you shouldn't be alone. I am not alone. Walter whined again. I heard your security detail. The power will be back. Maybe. You have work tomorrow. So do you, apparently, as a weather forecaster. Lena, I'm leaving now. She hung up. Dana called as I pulled on my boots. Mom's power is out. I know. She called you? Yes. She didn't call me. That's not a contest. I didn't say it was. You said it in a tone. Dana exhaled. I'm closer. I'll get her. She won't go. I know. I'm already leaving. So am I. The drive took an hour and 12 minutes. Ice coated the highway in patches that looked merely wet until the tires touched them. I kept both hands loose on the wheel and left enough distance to annoy every driver behind me. At a bridge, a pickup had spun into the median. Its hazard lights pulsed against the snow. Birch Street was dark, except for a few battery lanterns glowing in windows. Dana's car was already in Mom's driveway. I found the front door unlocked. Inside, the house had become unfamiliar. Without the refrigerator hum, furnace fan, television, and kitchen light, the room seemed hollowed out. My flashlight swept over boxes, bare sections of wall and plastic still covering one end of the couch. The beam caught Mom in Dad's recliner beneath 2 blankets. Walter trembled in her lap. Dana knelt beside the fireplace, trying to light decorative gas logs Dad had refused to service for 15 years. Stop, I said. I know. Then why are you touching it? I wanted to see if the valve was closed. It is. How do you know? Dad put tape over it. A strip of black electrical tape crossed the knob. In Dad's handwriting, faded but readable, were the words, "No, Ruth." Mom lifted Walter higher. I am sitting right here. You're coming with me, Dana said. No, it's 58 degrees. I have blankets. The temperature's dropping. So is your patience. I crouched in front of her. Mom, the utility estimate says restoration could be tomorrow afternoon. My phone says 11. That estimate covers the whole county. This house has survived worse. Houses don't get cold, Dana said. People do. Mom turned on her. Do you think I don't understand what's happening? I think you're scared and making it everybody else's problem by pretending you're not. The sentence hung in the dark. Walter's tags jingled against the zipper of Mom's sweater. I said, Dana. No. I drove here on ice because she wouldn't call me. She called you so you could be the one to order her out, and now I'm supposed to carry bags and be grateful she remembered my name. Mom looked down. I called Lena because I knew she'd come, she said. Dana's face changed. Not anger. Something quieter. I would have come too. I know. Then why didn't you call me? Because I knew you'd be angry. I'm angry because you didn't call. I understand the circle. I sat on the ottoman. The flashlight rested against my knee, throwing our shadows up the paneled wall. Why didn't you call either of us when it first went out? I asked. I thought it would come back. And then? Mom's hand moved over Walter's back, and then it got dark. She said it so simply that neither of us interrupted. The flashlight rolled under the couch, she continued. I could see it, but I didn't want to get on the floor because I wasn't sure I could get up. Walter kept hearing the ice hit the windows. The furnace stopped. Every room sounded bigger. Dana sat on the floor. Mom looked toward Dad's chair beneath her, as if she had only just noticed where she was. I kept thinking your father would know which breaker to check. The whole street is out, I said gently. I know that. I knew it then, too. That isn't the point. No, it wasn't. The house was full of systems Dad had understood and objects Mom remembered, and none of them could answer her in the dark. We can go to my place, Dana said. Eric has soup. He makes it now? Mom asked. From ingredients. Any cinnamon? No. What about Walter? Trixie will stay upstairs. Mom looked at me. I have power too, I said, but she's closer. Dana's eyes met mine. She knew what I was doing. Mom slowly pushed off the chair. We both reached for her, then stopped. She stood on her own. Give me a second, she said. We gave it to her. At Dana's condo, Eric had put a folding gate across the stairs. Trixie stood behind it, barking threats. Walter answered from Mom's arms with sudden courage. Eric took one look at all of us and said, Soup's ready. Mom slept in the guest room with Walter under the blanket. Dana and I sat at the kitchen island while Eric washed bowls. Ice struck the windows in tiny, hard bursts. She called you, Dana said. I know, I'm not mad at you. I know, I'm still mad. I know. She looked sideways at me. You've become irritatingly peaceful. I'm exhausted. That makes more sense. In the morning, the outage estimate moved to 6 that evening. Mom came into the kitchen wearing Dana's robe and her coral lipstick. She poured coffee, sat between us, and wrapped both hands around the mug. I don't want hawthorn, she said. No one spoke. I didn't like the room, and Walter couldn't go. But I don't want to spend another winter wondering whether I can get off the floor in the dark. Dana leaned forward. What are you saying? Mom looked at me first, then at her. I'm saying I want to look again. This time, neither of us reached for a pen. The power returned at 2:17 that afternoon. Mom insisted on going home immediately. The roads are still bad, Dana said. The roads are wet. They were ice 6 hours ago. They have evolved. Eric leaned against the counter. Maybe stay one more night. Mom looked at him. Whose side are you on? Soup's. She packed her toiletries. At the house, the furnace came on with a deep metallic thump. Mom stood over the vent until warm air lifted the hem of her slacks. Walter ran from room to room, confirming that the furniture had survived. I retrieved the missing flashlight from under the couch. Mom took it from me. It rolled. So you said. I did not drop it. I didn't say you did. You thought it in a tone. Dana opened the refrigerator and began throwing away food. Mom heard the trash bag. What are you doing? Anything dairy has to go. It was off for 8 hours. 10. The refrigerator stayed cold. Dana held up the milk. Did you take its temperature? It has no fever. Mom, I bought that Tuesday. I took the milk from Dana, poured a little into the sink, smelled it, and immediately poured the rest. Traitor, Mom said. We'll replace it. With groceries? I saw Dana tense. Mom saw it too. Delivered groceries, she added, ordered by me. Dana relaxed by a fraction. We sat at the kitchen table after the refrigerator had been judged and the pipes checked. The moving labels were gone, but pale adhesive outlines remained on a few pieces of furniture. Mom folded her hands. If I'm looking, there are rules. Dana reached toward her purse, probably for a pen, then stopped herself. No one puts down a deposit unless I say so, Mom said. No one talks to a real estate agent unless I'm in the room. No one describes a room as cozy. That may eliminate every senior apartment in Indiana, I said. Then we expand the search. Anything else? Dana asked. Walter goes. Yes, I said. Mom looked at me. I wasn't asking. I know. You agreed too quickly. Should I argue with the dog? He would enjoy it. Independent living? Dana asked. I'm not moving somewhere that counts how many peas I leave on my plate. Hawthorne didn't do that. It felt capable of it. What about meals? I might like meals, but not monitored peas. Correct. Dana nodded. Transportation? Yes. Emergency call system? Yes, generator, I said. Mom and Dana looked at me. After last night, I said. Generator, Mom agreed. She pointed at us one at a time. Each of you may suggest one place. I will find one myself." "How?" Dana asked. "I possess the internet. You called me last week because the weather app changed color. It was purple. Weather should not be purple." "You can look," I said. "We'll help if you ask." Mom narrowed her eyes. "You're being suspiciously reasonable. I'm trying something new." "It won't last," Dana said. Our first tour was my suggestion, a place called Ashford Terrace halfway between Mom's house and mine. I chose it because the apartments had full kitchens, the building had backup power, and the website published inspection reports without making anyone request them. I printed a list of questions, then left it in the car because Mom saw it and said, "You may bring yourself or the folder." The leasing director, Vanessa, wore a red suit and remembered all our names without checking her notes. I distrusted her immediately. She led us through a lobby with a stone fireplace and chairs, arranged in circles no human conversation would naturally choose. "Our residents are a family," she said. Mom glanced at me. She disliked organizations that advertised themselves as relatives. The apartment was bright, clean, and large enough for Dad's chair. It had a balcony overlooking a pond. Walter was welcome for an additional monthly fee and what Vanessa called a pet interview. "He has to interview?" Mom asked. "It's more of a temperament assessment." Walter, who had accompanied us, barked at a decorative pillow shaped like a fox. "He's discerning," I said. Vanessa showed us the dining room, fitness center, salon, and a craft studio, where two women were painting wooden snowmen in complete silence. Mom asked about the generator. It powers all common areas and one outlet in each apartment. "Which outlet?" Vanessa blinked. "I'd have to check." Check. She did. The tour lasted 90 minutes. On the drive home, I waited 6 blocks before asking. "No," Mom said. "What didn't you like?" "The pond." "You liked the pond." "I liked looking at it. I don't want to smell it in August. There was no smell. It's December." Dana turned from the passenger seat. "Anything else?" "The woman called us family." "I knew it," I said. "You made the same face." I did not. Dana said, "Both of you did." Mom's choice was Cedar Oaks, an independent living community behind a shopping center. She found it through an advertisement between online card games and called before telling either of us. The apartments allowed dogs, the monthly cost was lower, and every resident received a free emergency pendant. The building also sat close enough to the interstate that the kitchen glasses vibrated when a semi used its brakes. The manager, a man named Todd, kept calling Walter the little guy and me young lady. I was 44. Mom opened the closet, stared at a dark stain on the ceiling tile, and asked, "What leaked?" Todd looked up as if no one had previously noticed the ceiling. "Probably an old roof issue." "Probably." "It's been addressed." "How?" "We replaced the tile." The tile had not been replaced. On the way out, we passed a resident smoking beneath a no smoking sign. She watched Todd lead us through the lobby and slowly shook her head. In the parking lot, Mom said, "The little guy and the young lady vote no." Walter relieved himself beside Todd's reserved parking sign. "Unanimous," I said. Dana's suggestion was Brookside Court. She did not tell us why she chose it until we arrived. It was 9 minutes from her new office and 12 from her condo. Mom noticed. "This would be convenient for you," she said. Dana kept her eyes on the road. "Yes." "Is that the only reason?" "No. They allow dogs. They have transportation. Their generator powers heat and elevators. The apartments are month to month. You researched it?" "Yes." "You were allowed one suggestion, not a campaign." I answered a question. Mom looked at me in the back seat. "She did," I said. Brookside was less polished than Ashford and better maintained than Cedar Oaks. A miniature Christmas tree leaned in one corner of the lobby. Someone had decorated it with clothespins and old photographs. The leasing coordinator, Joe, wore orthopedic shoes and walked fast enough that we had to keep up. "We don't call this a community of best friends," she said. "Some residents are best friends. Some residents avoid each other with great energy." Mom smiled. Joe showed us a one-bedroom with a small sunroom and windows facing west. The carpet was new. The cabinets were not. "Can I bring my own table?" Mom asked. "If it fits." "My chair?" "If it fits." "My china cabinet?" Joe looked at Dana. "Does it fit?" "No," Dana said. Mom frowned at her. "You asked." "I hoped you'd lie." "We have a storage room," Joe said. 5 feet by 6 feet per apartment. "Don't fill it with newspapers." "I don't save newspapers," Mom said. "Good. Everybody says that while holding newspapers." Walter sniffed the baseboards. Joe crouched and let him smell her hand. She did not call him anything. The dining room smelled like coffee and onions. Residents could buy a meal plan or cook for themselves. Transportation went to grocery stores, medical offices, and one casino trip each month. "Why the casino?" I asked. "Popular demand." Mom asked about the generator. "Whole building except ovens and in-unit laundry," Joe said. "Do the emergency buttons work during outages?" "Yes." "How often are they tested?" "First Monday of every month. Residents complain about the announcement. A woman passing with a walker said, 'It's very loud.'" Joe nodded. "Evidence." The apartment was the best of the three. I could see Dana deciding not to say so. Mom stood in the sunroom for a long time. The winter light was weak, but it reached the floor. Beyond the parking lot, bare trees lined a creek. No pond, no highway. "This is nice," Mom said. Dana examined a loose cabinet hinge as if she hadn't heard. I asked Joe about available dates. Mom turned. I raised both hands. "Information only." "One apartment opens in February," Joe said, "another in April. The February unit faces east." "I want west," Mom said. "The April one is west." No one spoke. 4 months felt long and immediate at the same time. "We can call you if something changes," Joe said. "No pressure." In the car, Mom fastened her seatbelt and said, "I want to see the April apartment when it's empty." Dana nodded. I said, "All right." I did not say I'm moving. "I know." I said I want to see it. I heard you. Mom looked at Dana. "Did you hear me?" "April apartment. Empty. See it?" "Good." We drove home without ranking anything. The April apartment became available early when the resident moving out chose a larger unit in another wing. Joe called Mom, not Dana. Mom called us. We toured it on a rainy January afternoon. The west windows faced the creek. The sunroom had enough space for Mom's sewing machine if she chose a smaller dining table. Dad's chair fit beside the bedroom door. The kitchen had a real stove. Walter walked one full circuit, sneezed, and lay down in a patch of weak sunlight. Mom opened every cabinet. She ran the faucets. She flushed the toilet. She pressed the emergency button after Joe warned the desk in advance. A voice came through the wall unit. "Ruth, do you need assistance?" "No," Mom said. "I'm testing you. You got us." Mom looked at me. "That was fast. 22 seconds, I said. "You timed it?" "I possess a watch." Dana leaned against the counter. "Is there anything you don't time?" "Dental cleanings." "You timed mine once. You were late to dinner." Mom walked back into the sunroom. The room was empty except for a vacuum cleaner left by housekeeping. Rain traced the glass. "I can see myself here," she said. No one moved. She turned to Dana. "Do you?" Dana's eyes traveled around the room. "Yes." Then Mom turned to me. I looked at the low windows, the emergency unit, the path outside where Walter could walk, and the bedroom that would not hold every piece of her old life. "Yes," I said. Mom nodded. "I want to come back tomorrow before I decide." Joe returned with the deposit paperwork in a folder. Mom did not touch it. "Tomorrow," she said. We came back the next day. Mom brought Patrice. That surprised both of us. Patrice checked the bathroom layout, the distance to the elevator, and whether the kitchen lights were bright enough. She asked Mom where she would put the coffee. She did not ask whether we liked the apartment. They walked to the dining room without us. Dana and I waited in the lobby beneath the leaning Christmas tree, which no one had taken down. "You want her to choose it," Dana said. "Yes, so do I." "I know." I keep thinking about everything that could go wrong here. I keep thinking about everything that could go wrong at the house. She looked at me. How do you know when you're helping and when you're just scared? I don't. Useful. I'm trying to ask more questions. You still ask them like subpoenas. I'm improving. You brought a stopwatch? It was my watch. Mom and Patrice returned 20 minutes later. Mom carried the folder. I put down the deposit, she said. Dana stood. You signed? Yes. You didn't want us there? I wanted to know I could do it without either of you leaning. The sentence hurt and pleased me in equal measure. When? I asked. End of March. That's 10 weeks. I'm aware how calendars work. What about the house? Dana asked carefully. Mom looked from her to me. We'll sell it. Dana did not say she knew an agent. I did not say I could pay to keep it longer. Mom continued. After I choose what goes with me. Of course, I said, and nothing gets labeled until I touch it. Dana nodded. No red tape, Mom added. I threw it away. Good. Mom handed the folder to no one. She carried it home herself. The folder lived on the kitchen counter for 3 days. Mom moved it whenever she wiped underneath, then put it back in exactly the same place. She did not open it in front of us. On the 4th day, she called the real estate agent Dana had used. I want her to explain why she showed my house before I was ready, Mom said. Dana stared at her coffee. She showed it because I asked. She could have asked me. I was standing beside you. That is not the same thing. The agent, Marcy Bell, arrived wearing ankle boots and an expression of professional concern. She apologized without blaming Dana, which impressed me. She also told Mom the Cincinnati couple had already bought another house. Good, Mom said. They were very qualified buyers, Marcy said. They looked in my closets. You allowed that. I have revised my opinion. Marcy walked through the house with all 3 of us. She recommended removing half the furniture, repainting the purple bathroom, and replacing the kitchen light. The kitchen light works, Mom said. It's fluorescent, it illuminates. It makes the room look a little harsh in photographs. It makes everyone look ill, I said. Mom pointed at me. She has complained about that light since 1996. It stays. The purple bathroom also stayed purple. Mom agreed to remove furniture only as she chose it. Marcy agreed not to describe the house as charming, cozy, or waiting for a new family. What will you call it? Mom asked. A well-maintained 3-bedroom home on a mature lot. The lot is old? The trees are mature. Then say trees. Marcy revised the listing language at the table. The house went on the market in February. Mom insisted on being present for the photographs. She moved Walter's food bowl out of every shot, then put it back before the photographer finished packing his tripod. There were 11 showings in 6 days. Mom stayed with Dana during them because my house was too far, and Trixie had developed an agreement with Walter based on mutual avoidance. Eric installed a second folding gate and called it the demilitarized zone. The 3rd offer was clean and ordinary. A respiratory therapist and her husband liked the purple bathroom, the crooked paneling, and the mature trees. They asked for the old freezer to remain in the basement. Absolutely, Mom said. I suspected the freezer decided the sale. Once the inspection was finished and the closing date set, the boxes changed. There was no red, yellow, or green at first. Mom used index cards. Brookside, Dana, Lena, Sell, Think. The Think category grew fastest. A chipped sugar bowl went into Think because Dad had used it to hide spare keys. A stained beach towel went into Think because Walter slept on it during storms. 14 ceramic cats went into Think because Mom claimed they had to remain a colony until she could identify which ones disliked each other. Dana and I were not allowed to touch a category without permission. You can lift, Mom said. You cannot assign. What about trash? I asked. There is no trash. I held up a telephone cord for a phone she had not owned in 15 years. Historical wiring. Dana took it from me. Think, coward. I'm following orders, Major. She said it lightly. By March, Mom had reduced 14 ceramic cats to 4. The sombrero cat went to Brookside. She has traveled, Mom said. The china cabinet sold to Marcy's sister. Mom kept 6 plates from the wedding set and gave 6 to Dana. "What am I going to do with these?" Dana asked. "Complain when someone puts them in a dishwasher. I don't want china." "Then sell it." "For what?" "Money. It remains popular." Dana looked at the plates. Dad hated these. He hated washing them. He broke one on purpose. He dropped it with motive. The remaining plates went to an estate sale company without ceremony. The things that hurt us were rarely the things we expected. Dad's work jacket did not. It had hung in the hall closet since his death. When Mom handed it to Dana, we both smelled the collar and found nothing of him left in it. Just dust, old canvas, and cedar blocks. Mom folded it once. "Donate," she said. Neither of us argued. A grocery receipt from 2007 made Dana sit on the basement steps because Dad had written, "Call Ruth." "Milk?" across the back. His handwriting was impatient and slanted. He had been at the store. He had called home to ask about milk. That ordinary evidence of him alive undid her more completely than the jacket. She laughed while crying. He never remembered milk. "He remembered to call," Mom said. Dana put the receipt in her purse. I found one of my old letters inside Dad's roll-top desk. Not an important letter. I had written it during my first deployment and spent half a page describing a broken washing machine. Dad had circled the sentence where I said I could repair anything if people would stop watching. Beside it, he had written, "Takes after me." I sat in his desk chair for a while. Mom found me there. "He liked your letters," she said. "He never wrote back. He hated writing. He could have called. He didn't know what time it was where you were. He could have learned. Yes, no defense. No story about Dad's generation. Just yes." Mom touched the curved top of the desk. "He always said you should have this. I don't have room. You have a whole house. I have a whole house without room for a roll-top desk. That sounds like poor planning. What are you doing with it?" "Selling it." Dana appeared in the doorway carrying a box marked Brookside. "No," I said. She looked between us. "No what?" "Mom says Dad wanted me to have the desk. He did." "You knew?" "He told everybody. I think he told the mailman." I ran my hand over the scarred writing surface. Dad had repaired one cubby with mismatched wood. The roll top stuck halfway down unless you lifted the left side. "How much is it worth?" I asked. Dana shrugged. "Maybe 800, maybe 12 if someone likes damage." Mom said, "It is patina. You called my bowl defective. Your bowl leans." I looked at Dana. "Sell it." Her face changed. "For Mom," she said, "toward what you owe her. I don't need. You knew how to price it without checking." I looked it up when we were packing the first time. "Then you can sell it. That's your inheritance. It's a desk. You were just sitting there reading Dad's handwriting. I can keep the letter." Mom pulled out the chair opposite me and lowered herself into it. Dana set down the box. "I'm paying her back," she said. "I know. I don't want you fixing it. I'm not paying the debt. You're giving me something. I'm giving up something. That's how you make it look noble." The old reflex sharpened her voice. Mine answered before I let it. "You want me to be selfish so badly that generosity feels like an attack." Dana stared at me. Mom said, "Both of you stop improving the story." We looked at her. "The desk is mine," she said. "Your father wanted Lena to have it, but he died before I did, which complicated his authority. I am selling it. The proceeds will reduce Dana's debt. Lena may keep the letter in one drawer if she has developed a sudden affection for furniture parts. I don't want a drawer. Then the matter is settled." Dana opened her mouth. Mom pointed at the Brookside box. "Put that in the sunroom pile." Dana obeyed. The desk sold for $900 to a history professor who promised not to refinish it. Dana paid Mom the money the day it was collected. Mom recorded the amount in her checkbook and did not forgive the balance. That mattered. Forgiveness, in our family, had often meant pretending the injured person was rude for remembering. Mom could love Dana, accept her repayment, and still say, "You owe me $13,700. The number shrank in increments. Nobody turned it into a character verdict. My letter went into a frame at my house. The plaques stayed in a closet for several weeks until I hung them in my office. Not the living room, not hidden either. The final packing weekend arrived with warm rain and mud around the front walk. Mom's new apartment was ready. The house closing was scheduled 3 days after the move. The respiratory therapist had requested the fluorescent kitchen light remain. I knew she had judgment, Mom said. We worked from Friday afternoon through Sunday evening. Eric packed the kitchen because he had become surprisingly skilled at wrapping dishes. Patrice handled Mom's clothes and kept her from donating every uncomfortable shoe at once. You need 1 pair for funerals, Patrice said. If I'm attending, nobody should be looking at my feet. Keep the black ones. They pinch. You can take them off in the car. Dana and I took the bedrooms. We found clothes from 3 decades, 4 broken suitcases, a box of my old uniforms, and a lamp Dana swore had belonged to her. I remembered it in my room. Mom said it had belonged to the house. Then the house can take it, Dana said. We left it for the buyers. The last night, we ate pizza on the living room floor because every chair except Dad's recliner had been moved to the garage for loading. Mom sat in the recliner. Dana and I leaned against the flowered couch, now uncovered for the first time in months. Eric had gone home to check on Trixie. Patrice would return at 9 and spend the night in the guest room so Mom could have one final night in the house without either daughter hovering. Rain tapped the front windows. The walls were almost bare. The place where my photograph had hung showed as a darker rectangle against faded paint. Mom noticed me looking. "I'm sorry I took it down," she said. Dana stared at her pizza. "I understand why," I said. "That isn't the same as being all right." "No." She nodded. Dana put down her slice. "I should have pulled it out of the donation box." I waited. "I knew it wasn't just a picture," she said. "I wanted it to be." "Why?" "Because then I could throw away a frame instead of admitting I was angry at you. For leaving. For being allowed to leave." The answer surprised me. "You think I was allowed? I know what it cost you." Dana looked toward the bare wall. "I also know everybody understood why you weren't there. Nobody understood why I was tired when I was." I folded my paper plate in half. "I saw you," I said. "Eventually, yes." She nodded once. "Not absolution, recognition." Mom pushed down the footrest and stood. "Tomorrow," she said, "we move the boxes marked Brookside. Nothing else." "We know," Dana and I said together, "and Walter rides with me." "We know. And if either of you arrives in uniform, you change in the car." I smiled. "Understood." We left Mom with Patrice and Walter. As I backed out of the driveway, I saw her through the front window standing alone in the room where the colored chairs had been. She raised one hand. This time, no van was waiting at the curb. I arrived at 6:30 carrying 2 coffees and a paper bag of glazed donuts. Dana was already on the porch. She wore jeans, work boots, and the dark green jacket Eric had given her for Christmas. 2 more coffees sat beside her on the top step. We looked at each other's hands. "I didn't know what you drink now," she said. "Black. You used to put enough cream in it to change its citizenship. That was 20 years ago. I panicked and got both. I held up my tray. Same. Between us, we had 4 coffees for 2 people. Dana moved one of hers aside so I could sit. The ceramic goose wore a yellow spring bonnet now. Mom had packed its rain bonnet in a box marked Seasonal Essentials. The porch boards were damp. Across the street, the first kitchen lights came on. "You're early," Dana said. "So are you." "I'm always early." "You were 40 minutes late to Dad's retirement dinner." "I had a payroll emergency. One man got paid twice." He considered it urgent. I opened the donut bag and held it toward her. She took one. For several minutes, we ate without speaking. The house behind us made small, waking sounds. A cabinet opened. Water ran through the kitchen pipes. Walter barked once, then stopped when Patrice said his name. Dana wiped sugar from her thumb. "I owe you an apology." I folded the top of the bag. "You don't have to do it before sunrise. I've been trying since January. You could have called." I did call. We discussed furnace filters for 20 minutes. "That wasn't an apology?" "No, but you were very gracious about the filter." A car passed slowly on the wet street. Dana stared at her coffee lid. I scheduled the move while you were gone because I didn't want you here, she said. Not because of Eric's work schedule, not because of the movers. Those things were true, but they weren't the reason. I know. I wanted one decision where I was the daughter who knew what was happening. You did know. I also knew Mom wasn't ready. The admission sat between us. Dana continued before I could answer. I told myself she was afraid of change. Then I kept making her fear evidence that I was right. Every time she hesitated, I explained harder. You were exhausted. That explains it. It doesn't turn it into help. I looked through the front window. The dining room was empty now. No backward chairs, no tape, only clean rectangles on the floor where furniture had protected the wood from years of sun. You made her think I wouldn't help, I said. Yes. And you let me find out from colored tape. Yes. You showed the house. Yes. You almost gave away Walter. I was going to take him. Trixie would have eaten his remaining ear, I know. She smiled briefly, then shook her head. I'm sorry, she said. I'm not asking you to say it's fine. It wasn't. The first time she had cried in front of me, I had been home on leave after our father's diagnosis. Dana had stood at the kitchen sink, washing the same glass for 5 minutes, while I explained treatment schedules and transportation options. I had thought she needed a plan. She had needed me to notice her hands shaking. I notice now. I'm sorry, too, I said. She looked up. For what? For acting like getting there before the van made me the person who cared most. I never thought that. I did. Dana held the donut in both hands. I was good at leaving, I said. I had reasons, real ones. But I got used to everyone accepting them. Then I came home and treated the damage like something other people should have reported sooner. You sent money. I also thought money turned me into a participant. It was useful. So are fire extinguishers. Nobody invites them to dinner. Dana laughed, nearly choking on the donut. The front door opened. Mom stood there in charcoal slacks, a blue blouse, and coral lipstick. Patrice was behind her holding Walter's leash. If both of you are consuming sugar without me, Mom said, I will revise my will. Dana stood and handed her a donut. Mom inspected it. Glazed? It's 6:45. That was not my question. I gave her one with chocolate frosting. Your coffee is inside, Patrice said. Mom looked at the 4 cups around us. You've opened a business. The moving van arrived at 7:43. It was the same company, though not the same vehicle. The man in the brown knit cap climbed out of the passenger side, holding an insulated mug. He looked at the house, then at me. Recognition moved across his face. Morning, he said cautiously. Morning. Mom stepped forward. Mercer move, she said. He checked his phone. Ruth Mercer? To Brookside Court? Yes. Everything labeled Brookside? Yes. Anything else? No. He looked at her, not at Dana or me. You want us to start upstairs or downstairs? Upstairs. The sewing machine comes last because I want to see how full the truck is. He nodded. You're in charge. Mom glanced at us. Apparently, it can be said aloud. The crew consisted of the man in the cap, whose name was Luis, and 2 others named Devin and Mike. They walked through the house with Mom before lifting anything. She pointed to every box herself. Brookside. The things marked Dana and Lena had already gone to our homes. Cell was gone. Think had been resolved down to 1 shoebox, which Mom planned to reconsider annually until death made the decision impolite. Dad's recliner was the first large piece through the door. Luis wrapped it in a quilted pad. When Mike tipped it sideways, a quarter rolled from beneath the cushion and spun across the floor. Walter chased it. Mom picked it up. Your father's final contribution to the move. He'd want the chair upright, Dana said. He'd want us to leave it here forever and build the new owners around it, Mom replied. The chair went onto the van. Mom stood on the sidewalk, watching it disappear into the dark interior. Her mouth tightened, but she did not ask them to bring it back. Dana moved beside her. You okay? No, Mom said. Keep going. It was the kind of answer she had learned to give instead of fine. The van filled slowly. 6 plates, 4 ceramic cats, the wedding photograph, the ugly coffee mug, clothes, books, lamps, medication, Walter's bed, the sewing machine. A smaller dining table Marcy had found through the estate sale company had already been delivered to Brookside. The photograph of me in uniform did not go. Mom had asked for a newer one instead. Dana found a picture Eric had taken at Thanksgiving. Mom in the center, Dana holding a serving spoon like a weapon, me laughing at something outside the frame. No uniforms, groceries, houses, or visible proof of sacrifice. Just the 3 of us caught between performances. Mom had packed it herself. Patrice carried her overnight bag to my car. "I can carry that," Mom said. "I know," Patrice replied. "Then why are you? Because you're carrying the dog." Mom bent and lifted Walter before anyone could object. He settled against her chest, leash dangling. She walked down the front path carefully. No one touched her elbow. At the curb, she stopped beside the moving van and looked back at the house. The purple bathroom window stood open an inch. The fluorescent kitchen light glowed behind the curtains. The ceramic goose watched from the porch, unboxed because Mom had decided it belonged with the mature trees. She did not give a speech. "Did someone check the basement freezer?" she asked. "Unplugged, cleaned, door propped open," I said. "Kitchen cabinets?" "Empty," Dana said. "Garage. Only paint the buyers accepted." Mom nodded. "Then let's go before I remember another closet." She carried Walter to my car herself and fastened his harness into the back seat. Patrice rode with Dana. The moving van pulled away from Birch Street, and this time nobody stopped it. At Brookside, Joe met us beside the loading entrance with a cart and 3 bottles of water. "I'm not welcoming you to the family," she told Mom. "Excellent. I am required to welcome you to the building. I accept." The apartment smelled like fresh paint and the lemon cleaner housekeeping used on the floors. Afternoon light had not yet reached the sunroom, but Walter recognized the window and lay beneath it anyway. Mom directed every piece. Dad's chair went beside the bedroom door, angled toward the west windows. "More left," she told Devin. He moved it 2 inches. "Other left." He moved it back. "Now forward." Dana leaned toward me. "This is genetic." "I know." The sewing machine fit in the sunroom, but only if the sombrero cat occupied the bookshelf instead of the window ledge. Mom considered the arrangement as seriously as she had considered medication changes. Bookshelf, she decided. Luis assembled the bed. Mike connected the television. Devin discovered that the small dining table wobbled. I reached automatically for my toolbox. Mom said, "Ask." I stopped. "Do you want me to fix the table?" "Yes." I tightened one leg and added a felt pad where the floor dipped. The wobble disappeared. Mom tested it with both hands. Good. One word. It felt better than being called devoted. Dana unpacked the kitchen with Mom beside her. She asked where every mug belonged. She did not line up the plates after Mom placed them unevenly. When Mom put coffee above the stove, Dana said nothing, though I saw the objection travel through her entire body. Eric arrived at noon with soup and Trixie confined at home. "Ingredients?" Mom asked. "Several." "Cinnamon?" Still no. We ate from paper bowls around the small table. Patrice sat with us, refusing Mom's suggestion that she was working and therefore should eat later. "You're in my apartment," Mom told her. "You eat when I say." Patrice raised an eyebrow. "You may eat now," Mom revised. After lunch, the movers left. Luis handed Mom the inventory sheet. "Anything missing?" She looked around. "My husband." No one spoke. Mom signed the sheet. Everything else arrived. Luis nodded once, as though he understood that this, too, was part of moving people professionally. He took the clipboard and left. The apartment became quiet. Not house quiet. There were footsteps in the hallway, an elevator bell, a vacuum somewhere above us. Walter lifted his head at each sound, then lowered it. Mom stood in the sunroom. The west light had begun to appear across the floor, just as it had during the tour. It reached the sewing machine cabinet, then the edge of Dad's chair. Dana joined her. "Do you hate it?" she asked. "Parts." "Which parts?" "The bedroom closet is too small." The bathroom fan sounds tired. Someone has hung a wooden sign across the hall that says, "Bless this mess." Want me to remove it? No. I want to dislike it privately. Okay, Mom looked at her. I don't hate the apartment. Dana's shoulders lowered. And if I do later, that is not your failure. I know. No, you don't. Dana looked down. Mom touched her cheek. I'm sorry I made being nearby your qualification for loving me. Dana closed her eyes briefly. When Mom turned to me, I was pretending to adjust the felt pad under the table. And I'm sorry I made being far away the most interesting thing about you. I stood. You don't have to balance every sentence. I am not balancing. Dana's apology was longer. She had more material, I said. Dana made a sound halfway between a laugh and a protest. Mom opened the kitchen drawer and removed 2 keys. Each had a plain white tag. She handed one to Dana and one to me. For visits, she said, not decisions. Dana closed her fingers around hers. What if you don't answer? I asked. Call again. And if you still don't answer? Use judgment. Dana looked at me. Which one of us? Whichever is less annoying that day. Then we'll remain outside, I said. Mom smiled. By 4, every box was open, though not every box was empty. Eric and Patrice left first. Dana took the flattened cardboard to recycling. I stayed to hang the Thanksgiving photograph. Mom chose the wall beside the sunroom, low enough that she could see it from Dad's chair. I measured once, drove the nail, and stepped back. The frame was slightly crooked. Mom tilted her head. I can fix it. Leave it. It's visibly crooked. Your father would approve. Walter climbed into her lap. The chair creaked beneath them. Are you sure you want to stay alone tonight? I asked. I am not alone. There are 87 apartments. I mean without us. Yes. You have my number. It has not changed. The emergency button worked in 22 seconds. You remembered. You timed it. I picked up my jacket. At the door, I looked back. Mom sat in the old chair, Walter against her, evening light crossing the new floor. Behind her, the photograph held all 3 of us in the same frame without explaining which daughter had sacrificed more. Lena, she said. Yes? Thank you for getting here before the first van. I waited. And thank you for leaving before I ask you to. I laughed and opened the door. Dana was standing in the hallway with 2 empty coffee cups she had found in her car. She kicking you out too? She asked. Apparently, it's independent living. We walked toward the elevator together. Behind us, Mom locked her own door.